Futures trying to recover here as we get going into a brand new week ahead of key economic data to come this week. We'll get the delayed non-farm payrolls coming up on Wednesday. We'll also get a look at CPI this week and a few other key numbers that are going to be watched not only by the Fed, but I think the Trump administration going into the remainder of the month. More earnings to come this week as well. Biggest days, quick glance at the earnings calendar. Biggest day is going to be Tuesday and Thursday this week. Lots to discuss here this morning as we kick off a brand new week to the upside right now. But overall, the market struggling a little bit after what happened on Friday. We had a nice move Friday all day long, essentially rallying right into the close. A little bit of a pullback this morning. Some cautious optimism maybe in the background here on the back of, you know, an earnings season that has been a little bit mixed, a little bit disappointing on the Capex side of things when it comes to tech, but we will start to hear now from some of the other companies that hopefully will provide some optimism here.
And that's a good thing, Brendo, because we want the trade to expand. I was telling Neil this morning off camera, 17% of the S&P companies so far that have reported, 17%, I should say, of the S&P made all-time highs last week. So, you know, after the bloodbath that we saw for 3-4 days in a row, there were companies that were trending up. So we get so super myopic, right, with the tech trade as well as we should, because while everything really does revolve around tech these days, there's a whole lot to talk about this morning, guys, not least of which are GLP-1s. You have Novo Nordisk up 5% after Hims said they're going to stop selling that bootleg Wegovy pill that they were selling. So that Hims is down over 20% as well. Micron in focus, Brendo, as Samsung's really ramping up things there, and that's not good for them, down almost 3%. And then STM, you know, one name we very, very seldomly talk about, STM Microelectronics, big company, almost $30 billion market cap, tie up today with Amazon, up nicely here, 6.5. After the bloodbath last week in crypto land as well, back higher a little bit here this morning. I mean, we've got a long way to go, but we're positive to start things off, which should maybe lift sentiment, if nothing else right now. I was just checking also. Yields mostly to the upside this morning, dollar downside. Huge move. I don't know if you saw the yen. Japan in general, it was 4.8%, I think. Japan equities were up all-time highs for the Japanese stock market on that election win. He got a resounding majority. I think they haven't gotten that in years in the lower house, right? Like a super majority. And running specifically on the idea of reining in spending and reining in cost measures in that country. So yen downside in a pretty big way here this morning, or upside, I should say. Dollars downside, yields to the upside. Lots to get to this week, guys, including, again, non-farm payrolls that we were supposed to get back on Friday, going to be Wednesday this week. And we'll also get a look at CPI for the first time heading into February anyways. I mean, it'll be a delayed print, but very, very key ahead of Fed minutes coming up, not this week, but the week after. And then we're right back into economic land once again with the Fed. Good morning.
Yeah, welcome everybody. And hopefully everyone had enjoyed at least, well, a somewhat entertaining game. At least it got entertaining toward the end of it, I want to say. And hopefully no hangovers unless you own Hims and Her shares. So we'll be talking all about them. There was the story last week, of course, with their knockoff copy, Novo pill. And now they're pulling it. So the rug got pulled from under them, and they're now down 20%, not looking good. Overall, Bitcoin disappointing over the weekend, because if you're watching that 70,000 level, like it held clean on Saturday, and then just on Sunday was the literal opposite, or yesterday was the literal opposite, unfortunately, for Bitcoin. So that doesn't appear to be bouncing a bit. But there's some good names out there. SoFi caught an upgrade, and they're looking pretty strong. And we'll try to cover all of it, but I wasn't surprised at the sack fumbles, but I was surprised that they couldn't get anything done in that first half. I thought it would at least be somewhat competitive, the game. Like it really wasn't. Let's be at no point was it in contention.
Neither one of those quarterbacks are, as they say, him. I think they're just kind of they're good quarterbacks, but they're not. They're not like those marquee names. But now Sam Darnold gets a ring, which is nice to see right there. And yeah, I was on the Seahawks. I only had one bet, Seahawks -4.5. I didn't bet anything else. So it was kind of an easy, relaxing, kind of weekend. But yeah, now football's over. You don't have to worry about it now till August or so, and that's kind of sad. So we'll wait. Now Olympics was pretty interesting. Starting off there, yeah,
that crash was rough. That's hard.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for Lindsey Vonn, but at the same time, I mean, she went out there knowing that was most likely going to happen. So.
Well, the interesting thing is that it didn't seem like the knee injury had anything to do, particularly with the crash. It was it's one of those things. Yeah. Like
I don't know.
And it wasn't the only. There's a couple of big crashes actually.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's a dangerous sport.
Then we had the halftime show, which is fine. I mean, I didn't understand any of it, but it seemed like it was fine. I don't know. People liked it online, so I don't know. We can put up a poll. Did you like the halftime show or not? That's always the thing. That's always the. Is there a poll up right now?
Do we have a poll out?
No, we don't. Yeah, it's always no matter what this halftime show is, there's always the back and forth of do they like it, do they not like it. I thought it was okay. But I wonder what you guys thought about the halftime show. Yeah, SoFi with an upgrade. Mega cap tech names should, we'll have to see how it, generally speaking, they don't like the weaker dollar, so we'll have to wait to see what's going on with a weaker dollar there. We talked about the yen going to the high side. It should be a good day. It's not like a week packed full of 5-star earnings reports or anything like that, but it's going to be good. There's a couple names that we're going to talk about this week, and back Oracle upgraded today as well. So here's the TQs just kind of chopping around, not doing too much. Oracle might be beat up a little bit too much, getting a little bit of an upgrade there today, saying too far, too fast maybe, and then their business still intact. So we'll have to wait to see. I'm almost going to add Oracle to the watch list, I think, today as well. So yeah, that's it for me here today. Cold, cold, cold. Getting warmer though, as we go.
Much nicer throughout the day. And as you mentioned with the yen, dollar, GLD, gold is making a pretty strong bounce. Gold and silver looking much better today. Like things have calmed down a little bit in this land, and it seems like if you looked at Friday, it was not necessarily the volatility in the metals that we had seen throughout the week. Very consolidative type of a day after a couple of days of hard selling. Like, you little consolidation, sell, consolidation, and now we're getting a bit of a bounce. I think silver was a very similar story. It actually they both look constructive today. I mean, obviously silver still is, SLV, it's just gonna move more, right? You gap up 1.5% on gold, you gap at 4 on silver, but you had 2 days of just hold the line right around 70 on SLV. And I think like that kind of clear and obvious resistance gives you a support level. And it was a very steady, slow climb up on Friday. So it's just a different mode the stock was in, or commodity was in on Friday. And I do think it does make for a nice little area for a bit of a bottom here on SLV. Doesn't mean that this pullback is done. There's a lot of talk of the run up in gold, some of it being a lot of buying out of China, so a lot of demand there. Certainly something I know we'll talk about with Peter Schiff today, who's on the show today, by the way, everybody. Just want to remind you that we're going to have Peter Schiff on, and he'll be talking all about gold. But we'll be looking to trade some silver, looking for some strength again. Ooh, and I see in the chat already, there's like, look at all the comments. It's like gold, buy or sell, and then we have someone like short MU, short gold here.
Guy there, that gold buyer.
Would someone sell gold? So some people like to sell. I'm actually thinking resistance technically turning into support today. That said, if you break the line, like you break a support line that's as big as this wall here at 70 was the last couple of sessions. That kind of an easy place to go. But I love support and resistance. When I see that on SLV, as much as I've been, like every single day last week I was looking short and looking for short entries. And the only day that it didn't work was Friday. Like every other day you were getting great short opportunities with the exception of Friday. So I think a little bit of something has changed here. For anyone that's a bull in the metals, you're obviously hoping that is true as well. And I see, I didn't get the memo on the blue, apparently, at the desk, because the boys are both in their blue, I just realized.
Monday. I don't know. You feeling blue today?
I forgot to send out the memo yesterday, Brian.
Just reading this note on Oracle this morning. A couple of positive notes, actually. One from D.A. Davidson, specifically. Raised to a buy from a hold for ORCL. So 2 days in a row here. Nice bounce back. We're actually just breaking through 150 right now. Back to the upside. I mean, zoom out. Everyone knows what's happened with Oracle. Yeah. It's been a bit of a gong show. So it has a long way to go if it wants to get going here. But finally, maybe. I mean, they obviously bought all the way down, and now they're trying to get some money out of it. Right?
Yeah, they never do that, Brendo.
No.
D.A. Davidson, yeah, as you mentioned, positive comment today on Oracle, upgrading it from a neutral to a buy, but keeping that same $180 price target, which is notable. They argue that the recent downside pressure tied to OpenAI fears has gone too far. They also state that, the TikTok deal is not being, focused on enough by analysts. They also believe the market's over-penalized Oracle due to the uncertainty around the AI exposure. We've talked about their ridiculous RPO, remaining performance obligations, 300 some odd million. But when we looked at some of these hyperscalers report last week, I'm not trying to compare them to Oracle, but they also had ridiculous RPOs. They called it backlog, demand backlog, whatever they want to call it. So it seems to be like an industry standard when it comes to that.
Specifically around memory as well. Micron, we'll get to that coming up here in a second. But you mentioned ChatGPT and the OpenAI angle. CNBC actually just reporting ChatGPT is still growing at a 10% monthly growth rate. I don't know what they're gauging that on, or if that's just something that the company itself is saying. But 10% monthly growth rate seems very, very high. With all we've had tons of conversations in the past couple of weeks about other options and how good other options at this point are. So they're still clearly doing something right. There was also an interesting note, speaking of ChatGPT, on 2026 IPO funnel that's coming, 160 billion worth, still potentially going to include OpenAI, SpaceX, Anthropic, and a few others.
Like a bit of a focus on this. Now, we've been seeing Microsoft really get hit hard. And I think one of the more underreported cases is the fact that the valuation for OpenAI could be moving down on the private markets. And that's being reflected in Microsoft's public stock, because we know a lot of their valuation, I think almost 270, 280 billion at the highs, was tied to their investment in OpenAI. If you assumed, of course, that OpenAI was still worth that $1 trillion. And I think that we've been getting a bit of a correction in that, Brendo. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see some of the commercials yesterday for the Super Bowl, but
did not.
Claude, Anthropic took all sorts of shots at OpenAI. They had this, kind of doofus-looking big dude answering questions back from this guy who was theoretically, obviously, typing questions into chat. And then, he'd throw in an advertised product along the way in case, the person was interested. It was an obvious shot that, their algorithm or their results could be skewed by advertisers and, a little bit less reliable.
They're going to have to find a really intricate way, I think, to roll that out and not annoy people, because it's been so long without any interruptions. Like, is it going to be on Google search, for example, the first few results that you get in Google search are paid results.
Exactly.
They're paying to actually be at the top of the list. Is it going to be that sort of format, or just, image type advertising pasted everywhere?
Well, Altman was clearly moved by this because it leaked before the actual Super Bowl. So he took to Twitter or to X to respond. He said, look, we're never ever going to include advertisements in the body of the response so as to suggest to you a certain product. It's going to be kind of like at the bottom there, maybe a little bit of just a little, it's going to be annoying, but it's going to be for non-paid tier as well.
Microsoft, another one, as you mentioned, actually a cautious note, a downgrade actually this morning for Microsoft, but even softies higher here this morning, guys, in the pre-market.
Softy.
Microsoft's been a little bit of a worry spot for sure, right? I mean, it's nice to see Oracle, back up to the upside on those double upgrades. I was just there on Oracle. So here's Oracle's trying to go right now. So that's nice, up 4.5%. I mean, I was actually thinking to myself, like, time to maybe buy some back. We had sold this thing over $300, now cut in half off that price. So we'll have to wait to see if that means anything. 17 forward, 20 something for P. Current P 17, something like that for Oracle. So definitely one name that is underneath the market multiples right now. Yeah, it's actually interesting finally getting an up day, not upgrade, for Microsoft today. I mean, that's an interesting number there for ChatGPT growing 10%. It seems like it's not growing that fast, but if it is, that's great. We talked about some of those numbers being a little fake for Gemini, the 750 monthly users, because there's some free trials going on right now in big time countries like India and whatnot that may not get extended throughout. But if they do, that's a huge number. And I think for Microsoft, that's a big number as well. Growing that kind of rate, if they can figure out the ad tier thing with a chat GPT, I know that's going to be an OpenAI, but I think that's going to be working out for Microsoft. I see how you use it. There was actually a commercial yesterday that had the guy using Copilot, and he was using it to draft players, and it was like it was asking ChatGPT, sort the draft class by this, and then by that, and then by this, and then by that, and it was asking it all these questions, and eventually it kicked out a player for them to choose. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of a use case here for Microsoft, and the fact that it's been beat up this far seems like it's going to be a buy. I'm not trying to buy many tech names, man. I mean, as Sharif had mentioned there's many names that have been hitting 52-week highs, and often we look to pick up names that have been beat up so badly instead of looking at names, that maybe are in a space. FedEx was a good one to buy down when it was beat up. Same with Procter. I mean, Procter & Gamble didn't even have a great report. It went down there. This is on their report, and then it's been straight up for like a month straight. And then J&J is another name where I think you can buy strength that's just continues to blast to the high side here instead of trying to pick up some value. J&J is a great name for value and, going like this as opposed to Microsoft that's going like that. So, some big time names to be had. And Microsoft eventually, it's in everybody's portfolio and at some point anyways, right? A third of the S&P 500 is still the Mag 7. So we'll have to wait to see if Microsoft can get off the mat here. But I don't know, I feel like it's going to be a tough year for all the Mag 7 names, to be honest with you. There's just a lot of other opportunities to invest. And I really like Google better than this. So for me, Microsoft's kind of on the back burner for myself as an investment right now, although I still own, not buying more.
Yeah, it'll have to. It's doing something pretty distinct. So I think at least from a trade aspect, I think there's a trade coming up here on Microsoft. If the bottom's right here and it never sees underneath 400 again, it might have been a missed opportunity. But when you go way back on Microsoft and see how much respect the stock has had for the 50, anytime it's gotten close to the 50 period on the monthly chart, like it'll just kind of hover. There might be little wicks that just immediately get bought up. So we're in the midst of a month, which is challenging testing down, like another break of that 400 level, and you would get that wick test of the 200 period moving average, 50 period moving average on the monthly. And I think that's where we close this month, and as long as you don't break it, this is the challenge month, and you get like a trade off of this level for Softy. So it's still early, like whatever, we're February 9th in here. So you can't pull up a monthly chart and then say, oh, it's bouncing off of this. Well, you have 3 weeks. And a lot can happen in 3 weeks. And if you don't close holding that 50 period moving average, it's obviously going to be the opposite in terms of momentum here for Softy. So there is like a bounce area, which historically has been very good when you do look at the chart here for Microsoft. And I know a lot of people are looking at these beleaguered names, but it's, like we were just saying, if you're looking for opportunity, like intuitively when everything looks doom and gloom and the SPY is this close to the high and the Dow is making a high, there are all kinds of kernels of strength out there, and they just might be in other places, right? And we talked about, like, look at how strong FedEx has been. Like, Sharif brought this one and I was like, I hadn't looked at that chart in a week or two. Well, look at the last week on FedEx, and then look at the last couple of months. This is a ton of strength. So there's a lot of strengths elsewhere. It doesn't mean you can't find some dip buys. Just find some good levels, or maybe wait for things to become a little bit cheaper. But there's plenty running in this here market. And I'm glad Sharif pointed this one out to me, because I had noticed how strong FedEx was, and it could be making another breakout after a little bit of consolidation to end last week. So we'll see. It doesn't have a catalyst to particularly make it go today, but nice little consolidative end to the week for this stock, which has been a rocket ship.
Yeah, FedEx transports have been crazy hot. That's been a great sector. Buy that 6 months ago. Now might be a little late. We should have Michael Noss coming through today. It should be exciting there. See what he has to say, talking about, last week he was talking about the RSP, of course, and so we're talking about some of the different opportunities that are going to be available. We've got Joe here with upgrades and downgrades soon, options plays as well. And then, as you mentioned, Peter Schiff coming during the midday. I believe it's around noonish.
What topic do you think he wants to discuss?
Yeah, something about probably monetary policy, something like that, and maybe the Super Bowl. I don't know what he's going to talk about there. He was probably if
some bling.
Yeah, he was like, if any of the teams were wearing gold, I don't know, maybe he would have been all over that. But welcome to the new member here, Paul. How
do you say
Paul Wells? Paul Wells. Thank you so much. Becoming a member gets you access to Sharif's Morning Note, which today is huge. It's I was going, look, I'm all the way at the end here, trying to check out some SoFi action here. This is 15 pages of nothing but notes here today. Meta, Microsoft, any top Novo Nordisk. We talked about that earlier there. There's the copycat pill. If you're wondering why some of these stocks are moving around, hims and hers, Novo Nordisk today, grab the Morning Note with Sharif. And we want to thank, last week we got a bunch of new members. We want to thank all of you. Make sure you go check it out. Let us know in the chat if you like it. For $5 a month, I don't think you can go wrong there at all. Neither can you go wrong with Joe and his options plays. Let's go have a quick look at him.
All right, guys, happy Monday. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. Yes, the market was going on a little bit of a rally on a Friday. Sharif, I mentioned that a little bit before, didn't I? But hey, let's get into some of this options activity, guys, and see what we got going on in the world of derivatives. We're going to take a look at MicroStrategy here, or strategy, I guess I should say. And that's going to be at that $135 mark. It climbed higher in the pre-market, and it touched around roughly a high of around $137. So let's get involved here and see what we got going on from an open interest and a volume standpoint. We're going to be sitting around 17,600 contracts that are going to be expiring this Friday. Also, volume sitting around 16,200. Once again, sitting at that $135 mark. Now, as for the bid and the ask, guys, we're sitting at $25. That's not horrible, but I expect that to tighten up here within the intraday session. Now, looking at the 52 delta, considering it was out the money at the close, climbed in the money after the close. Very interesting stuff with your gamma exposure relatively light. But you know that your at the money IV is going to be slightly increased. But we'll look at it from a broader perspective. Considering we had those aggressive selling days, you're starting to see some cooling in that. And when you typically go to have a nice strong rally like we experienced, that volatility is most definitely going to cool down. Moving forward, guys, let's take a look at Walmart. We mentioned that it hit the $1 trillion club before. But once again, hitting an additional all-time high, we're going to take a look at that $130 mark on WMT. Open interest sitting around 7,870 with volume around 1,220 and 10. Sorry, but we're sitting at approximately a $20 spread. That's definitely going to tighten up after the open. If not, understandably so, because it's not the most liquid of contracts. Once again, expiring 2 weeks from now, sitting at a 57 delta, guys, with your gamma exposure starting to slowly increase as you get closer to ITM. Now, as for the at the money IV, 38.3%, nothing substantial considering we've had some big time up moves throughout the past couple of sessions and last week. So an increase there, but I don't think it's anything to be worried about. And you might see somewhat of a pullback in this name considering the trajectory that has been currently on. Now, taking a step back here, guys, I just want to pull this up here. We're going to take a look at the 4-hour chart on MSTR. This is going to be this Friday's expiration cycle. And Jose and I were just talking briefly over the weekend, and I said, you know what? I was talking with someone a while ago who actually sells options and works for a fund. And I'm like, hey, man, what is there to do with it? And he's like, yeah, all I strictly do is essentially sell and write options. So 84% of that of this contract has lost its value in the span of a month, a little bit less. So that is interesting. And once the volume really kicks in, this contract will never recover to its previous all-time high. So that's an 84% decrease in a contract that expires this Friday within a month. So you can capture theta decay and volatility decay within these underlyings. We'll be back momentarily with some upgrades and downgrades.
Yes, we shall. And 78 million more in Bitcoin bought by our good friend,
really?
Mr. Sailor.
Okay. Yeah, well, 78 million more. Okay.
Dollars worth of it.
Small drop.
Small drop in the bucket. It was, but the recovery,
100 Bitcoin.
The recovery in MSTR is intense. As you saw on Friday, well, okay, fine. It was intense on Friday on the daily chart, on the chart, but obviously on the daily chart, it's not going to look that crazy. But what's interesting to me is that usually when you get like a relief rally in something that has been that bad, like you would expect, if we've been down for a bajillion days in a row, and there's a few up days sprinkled in, but we had an entire week down after consolidating an MSTR. If you look at how distinct this trend has been, if there's some relief rally, you'd expect to see at least multiple days of strength. I didn't like what I saw over the weekend for Bitcoin. Like it just, like when we looked at the move down to 60K, the level before support around that 70 area where it kind of accelerated down, that just turned into like a chop fest. And it was like, oh, we're over, we're holding, and then no, we're not. And then we're over and we're holding, and then no, we're not. Like we were holding support for a good portion of the day on Sunday, and then we just lose it. So I'm not a fan at all of the price action on Bitcoin. As much as I look to the left and to the right and see some solid bounce plays here and there, and you mentioned ORCL is a good example, and there's a few chip names, not named Micron, that has bad news, that are looking a little better. The Nasdaq's trying to go green. Bitcoin doesn't feel like it's at that spot so far. So if you're looking at MSTR, it's hard to feel continuation for MSTR when we spent the weekend not really catching that bid that you were expecting. There was no weekend buy. There was also no weekend dump off either. So I guess that's a good sign. So I'd be a little bit skittish that this weakness is done specifically for crypto. You didn't get the signs that you wanted over the weekend.
Yeah, this is Thursday here for MSTR, right? Like we opened at 121, we closed at 104. Then Thursday night, I was like, if there's going to be a rebound in Bitcoin, definitely want to look at MSTR for that extended gain. And then people just piled into MSTR all day on Friday. So I really like MicroStrategy down here, to be honest with you. Like if you like Bitcoin, this guy's buying more. He's doing the diamond hand work for you here. I don't know if my thing is, no, it's not open. My stream deck, let me get it open for you here. I don't know if we have the Stone Cold 3. There it is, okay. Joe's stream deck is always working, but there he goes, it's over with. Now we'll just go diamond hands. Because yeah, Michael Saylor, I guess, buying more here. So I think, you gotta appreciate the strategy with strategy, but you still gotta watch out for the falling knife, which has been Bitcoin, as Neil said. It hasn't really got off the mat yet. It is obviously a nice bounce back from 60 to 70. Would have liked to see more continuation there today, but I think MSTR is still the one to look for. And any dips into here, man, 120 to 121. I think this is worth a look. That's where sort of that get up spot there from Friday. It's probably about 66,000 or so. So if Bitcoin does get back into the downside here, why not try to buy a little bit of MSTR if you're a Bitcoin bull? It trades perfect. If the market's going to bounce back, like if Bitcoin gets back to 80,000, why sit in Bitcoin? Honestly, just sit in MS. If you think Bitcoin's going back up, sit in MSTR. The amount of money that you'll make on MSTR is ridiculous as opposed to what you'll make in Bitcoin. So reward yourself. If you're a Bitcoin bull, I just don't see why not to buy this. If you're a bull, that's it. So I'm almost thinking
one reason is it hasn't always had the up moves that Bitcoin has had. So it has in the past had stretches where it will not appreciate as much as Bitcoin is. I'm not saying it won't now. Wipeout bottoms tend to be different, but sometimes that has actually been the case.
But it must grow that must be sometimes, but I think historically MSTR, like if you're expecting a 20% move up in Bitcoin, which I think a lot of traders are, you're gonna get way more than 20% in MSTR. At this point. So this is what I'm saying. I think it's a short-term play. You want to buy some MSTR right here. Bitcoin jumps 20%, man. I don't know how far this thing is going to go, but it's going to go a hell of a lot more than that. So just make sure that you guys, follow those kind of things. Different than like a Mara or Hut 8 or somebody that's mining. These guys are physically just holding Bitcoin. So you got to be careful with that. Or even a Robinhood continues to get, hit. And if you like the space, I don't know if Robinhood would be a sort of good one-to-one there with crypto. But again, you're gaining a lot of traction if if Bitcoin gets back upside, man, you know Robinhood's going to go, MSTR is going to go. All these things are trying to go. Yeah, BITI, yeah, 2, 3, 400 times the moves there. There's so many different ways to play this, but yeah, pure play would be IBIT. And so if you're looking for, some crypto exposure, grab IBIT or grab the coin itself and trade off exchange. Coinbase had a pretty good, I have Coinbase written down today as a sell if we do break 161, so that's going to be on the stick. Coinbase had a pretty good commercial yesterday as well, so maybe there's something going on there. Watch out for Coinbase today and MSTR. They're all on watch with this kind of a day here today. All right, Michael is ready.
He's locked and loaded.
He's locked and loaded. Let's go find out if he watched the Super Bowl and how many charts he looked at this weekend. It's the Big Desk with Michael Noss.
I was just checking here. Coin coming up Thursday as well after the close for earnings. So a few in the crypto space going to report this week. Yeah, let's bring in Michael Noss. We'll have a conversation a little bit on something we've talked about in depth in the past. Mr. Noss, happy Monday, by the way. When it comes to seasonality and specifically the election cycle that we're in right now and how, I mean, we talked about this going back to the beginning of January and the beginning of the year. This type of, or this portion of seasonality that we're in right now typically tends to be a little bit choppy and sideways. But here we are back at all-time highs once again. What say you?
Well, and it's two reasons I wanted to recover this today. One is I got a question from a viewer, and I love those. And then the other is just how well things have been tracking. So the first couple slides I have are just what we talked about. Again, it was either end of last year or very early this year. And this is, again, not huge seasonality person, but elections and taxes, anything around those make perfect sense to me. So I like to follow them. And what I brought was this very chart right here. So, it ended at the end of 2025. Again, we're focusing on the black line. The red line was the market last year. And just note, we will always be more volatile than the black line because the black line's an average. It's an average of the last 126 years of what happens to the market over this election cycle. So the first 2 years are the election year, and then you have the kind of honeymoon period, they say, the next year after, which is 2025. Then we have the midterm year, and that's what we're in right now. And then the following kind of quartile there is just what happens after, which is normally pretty bullish. But again, most years are normally pretty bullish. But just what really stands out is this midterm year and how kind of choppy and volatile it is. And then it's funny because the next chart is, I was joking with myself, this was what I drew earlier in the year and just kind of, hand drew, this is what I think based off the seasonality it could happen. And then the next chart is what's happening so far, which is following pretty closely, right? We are back at near all-time highs, and we talked about this last week, so I won't go over it again. But if you're following anything but the S&P 500 and the Qs, we're at all-time highs. The RSP, the average large cap stock, rocketed yesterday, broke out to new all-time highs, just soaring. So the average large cap stock's doing just fine. But the question and what I wanted to look at was a more zoomed in look at potentially what this year could look at, because 126 years of data, that's a lot of data. There's a lot of things that kind of say we might be headed for a new all-time high real soon, but it's not an all-time high that I'm potentially going to chase like I did in 2024 and 2025. It's going to be potentially a different one here. So the next chart is just a zoomed in version of kind of what we see, right? Going all the way back to this one's particularly 1950 and potentially what we're going to see. And we see late January, early February, so that far left-hand side of the screen, generally a little bit of a pullback and a chop around, not a huge pullback, right? The boxes are percentage range, so it's usually like a 2 to 3%, I believe, pullback, if that. Then end of February, which we're nearing, into March, generally a pretty decent move higher. And this might be because of tax reasons or whatever it usually ends up happening. And then we start to see the sell right back down, right? We only get about 2% higher on the year. And then generally we start to see the sell back down. Now, again, I want to reiterate, actual reality is always going to be more volatile than the average. It's the way it works. If you're averaging something out, think of a moving average on a chart. It's always going to be, just by math, less volatile than the actual price action. It's like the whole thing of the average person has 1.9 arms, because there's never anyone with more than 2 arms, but there's people with less. So you're never the average. So I just want to say that, right? So we could break out much higher. We could, break down much lower. But historically, this March, April, May push ends up being one that gets us to new highs, and we're starting to potentially see that. So we could have a nice little breakout of this base that I was showing in the SP 500, again, followed by a little bit of a pullback, and I don't think it's too crazy that pullback goes all the way into October, because that's probably when people are starting to get some sort of feel about what the election's going to happen, and then into the end of the year, October, November, December, those are really strong months. So the next chart, just quickly, I just wanted to show it kind of looks like that other chart. So this is a year-to-date line chart of the S&P 500. We had that, January, February weakness, and now it looks like we're potentially pushing back out. So just to, the last chart is just that prior chart again, just to remind people, that kind of looks, again, not exactly more volatile, what we saw here. That early weakness that might be resolving into later strength, pushing us up into potentially new highs. And then for me, I'm just looking at that and saying, well, at least historically, those new highs didn't create this very long sustained trend the way they do it near the end of the year. So I need to keep in mind when I'm buying stocks that are moving higher that this potentially could happen. I could have this time frame of, if I start to see weakness in April and May, probably time to take some more off the table, spend some time in cash doing some more day trading or short-term trading, and then wait until this volatility clears itself, and then off until the end of the year. So just a more zoomed-in version of what the seasonality is going to expect. It's not going to be exactly that, but it could be close.
Yeah, so we're not saying, sit on your hands, do nothing for, the next 6 months, and then come back in October and see what's, setting up nicely. We're just saying this is what, on average, in this year of a 4-year election cycle typically happens. And as you said, and very worth pointing out, I think, what in reality takes place is never going to be the same as the average or as calm as the average. It'll always be far more volatile. To that point, I think it's also worth noting, if somebody's looking at whatever, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, the same could be said on an individual stock basis compared to the average, which is the index.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a really important note, is that if you are having a choppy index average, it generally doesn't mean that every stock and every sector in the market is also being choppy with the average. Actually, quite the opposite. And that's what we're seeing right now, is that the averages, the Qs and the SPY, haven't gone anywhere in months and are experiencing this choppy behavior. But you're seeing, industrials making new all-time highs. And this is what I brought on Friday, is that industrials were soaring and the average large cap stock is doing great. And there's some sectors like software that are just getting killed. So if you have some sectors pulling us up and other sectors pulling us down, that's what creates a choppy average. So it becomes, and it's, kind of a lame saying, I guess, but it becomes a stock picker's market, I think, in this particular time when the market is choppy, because I think what's happening under the hood is people are going to be looking at what they think the future of the political landscape in the States is, and then trying to make bets on what sectors are going to be favored and what sectors are going to be out of favor or under pressure based off of what's going to happen there. So that just creates, for us, all we care about is trends. So, you're going to see trends up in certain sectors and down in other sectors. But if you look at the average, again, the average is going to be much choppier than the two. So might be a time to ignore the S&P 500 a little bit more and focus just a little bit more on stocks making all new highs and stocks making new lows.
It'd be interesting to also zoom out a little bit to years specifically in which the rest of the world is outperforming U.S. stocks. Haven't had that for a long time. So does this exact format, does this exact model carry out on years where we still see the rest of the world doing a little bit better? Yeah, fascinating stuff. Great stuff. Michael Noss, we'll see you again.
Awesome. I'll take a look at that and I'll bring it to you Friday.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, fantastic stuff, as always, by Mr. Michael Noss and Brendo. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to start some things off with the downgrade side. We're going to go with Li Auto at the top of the list here, guys. JP Morgan lowering that price target to $14 and going from a neutral to an underweight. And then we also have Marathon Digital, an $8 price target here, guys, initiating a sell rating by Morgan Stanley. Once again, you're down 2.9% here this this morning. Hims and Hers just getting beaten to a pulp at this point, guys. $26 to $21 and an underperform by Bank of America, and then we have a Zillow Group as well too by Keefe and Wood, getting that price target lowered from $80 to $65. But Hims and Hers not looking good whatsoever this morning, guys, down 21.3%. Now moving forward, let's take a look at some of the upgrades. At the top of the list, we have Robinhood, guys, going from a peer perform to an outperform with a price target of $125 by Wolf Research. And then we have Oracle also getting the nod as well too by D.A. Davidson, going from a neutral to a buy with a price target of around $180. You're up 2.85% here this morning. And then SoFi also getting the nod, guys, market perform to market outperform. So you're getting that price target raised to $30, once again 2.9% by Citizens there. And then Stellantis also getting the nod, guys. You're up 1.5% this morning, going from an underperform to a peer perform by Wolf Research, and once again up 1.5%.
So we're literally hearing right now, and thank you, Joe, a note on Hims.
Yep.
Looks like Hims saying they're going to continue to fight to provide alternatives and options for the consumer. Obviously, the headline here last week, they launched their Wegovy copy, knockoff, whatever word, option, whatever word you want to use at a much cheaper price point. There was a brief spike. There's a lawsuit from Novo ensues. They decide to pull it, and now they're 21% to the downside. But what's interesting about this is even when they were getting the pop on the news last week, Hims was getting sold. Like it was 2 days in a row where we were sitting here in the morning right around 8:30, and actually it was the open the day before, but it was actually at 8:30 when we got that huge spike all the way up to $30. Spent the entire day not just selling off, but then going red, and then still holding underneath some of those levels on Friday. So to say they've been beaten up goes without saying here. But to their point, they're fighting this and looking like they don't want it to be completely over, but that's to be expected. Still, not going to be looking that constructive. It's underneath the VWAP here. That's going to be the first place to look. I mean, when you sit down and the stock is closer to that 19 area, that seems realistic, things like the pre-market high, but now really just have to look at VWAP in the last consolidation and maybe even 18.5 for fade on Hims today. But, response, the story's not done by a long stretch of the imagination, even if the stock on the chart does look like it.
Yeah, I was looking at, I really like the upgrade there in Oracle. We sort of talked about that a little bit here as D.A. Davidson just upgrading the stock to a 180 price target. So that's still not like huge move back, but I think you want to respect about a 20% move back to the upside there. And just saying that the AI sort of blown up build out here is a little overblown. They secured financing last week, Oracle did. So potentially here, overly discounted this OpenAI relationship. And if Oracle can get the data centers built and, sort of fulfill their requirement, then yeah, OpenAI has got to run somewhere. Remember Oracle and TikTok, like there is some data use here for everything that they're building out. So this is a core software and cloud upside play as well for Oracle. So let's not forget that they were sort of a real big darling here early on. After that tariff move, we went from that 110 area all the way to 350. So it went 3x. Up to the upside. So yeah, obviously there is going to have to be a little bit of a move to the downside once people start feeling some kind of ways about, the AI bubble. And this was one of the prime examples of something up there that got a little bubblicious on remaining performance obligations. So we're hearing a lot of companies talk like that. So if you're going to hit Oracle, you're going to have to hit the others. And I just like the fact that Oracle is starting to be upgraded now off of a decent key level here. So I want to be looking long at some point here today. Although I'm trying to look short on the market, I have a feeling of maybe more bearishness today than bullishness. So I'm not looking long early on Oracle, but if we can fall back into this 146 to 147 area, I think that's going to be a decent long there. So I really do like that upgrade on Oracle here today. Really flatlined on Friday. broke through, and now today you're hovering near the high side. So let's see if we get some support, sort of where we did earlier on the pre-market here, around 146 to 147. So yeah, I really like the Oracle play. This is on our watch list today, so it's going to be a top name. You can get our watch list right here at TraderTV.live. Go in to get the link in description. It's fantastic. Emailed right into your inbox every single day. So go grab that and enjoy the watch list, brought to you by TraderTV.live, as Bitcoin's still hovering around that 69,000. So thanks, Michael. Thanks, Joe, with those options and whatnot. But I'm so excited for Peter Schiff to come around noon.
Yeah.
So I think that should be a really fun, exciting thing to listen to. I think I'll probably be at the gym, but I'm going to have it on YouTube, watching it there on YouTube as I don't know, maybe we'll go.
For us, you can go for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to it all.
It's too cold. I do walks.
It's very, very cold.
When it's nicer out, I'll go for a walk in the middle of the day.
I think it's supposed to be getting a lot better. Yes, a lot.
It was like minus 20 something this morning.
No, it still is. It's right now. It feels right now. It's minus 19 right here, but we're supposed to be getting tomorrow minus 9 with 0. Yeah, and then it goes minus 5. So we're getting back there out of this. If you guys are part of the Northeast, you would definitely understand.
Yeah, you guys know
what's going on here right now. And minus 19 Celsius, which is quite extreme there. It's been a pretty prolonged bit of coldness.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It feels pretty good though. We don't have too much snow as of now. Lots of snow outside, but it's sort of calmed down for the last couple of weeks, thankfully. Give the city workers and everything an ability to clear that snow. It's been wild.
Like they're clearing it in New York?
Do they have problems in New York with the snow, do they? Oh, yeah.
I think the stuff that you see online is suggested it's not just the...
I don't know where you put it all.
Not just the snow. There's like garbage piling up.
Oh, I bet.
Collected as well.
I bet.
What we do here, if you guys have seen the videos...
And there's cycling's at the side of my house.
They don't play around in like Montreal.
No?
We're pretty good here too, but like Montreal, they're really good at like...
Get it done quick.
Just getting the snow and getting it out, and it's out on trucks, and they're removing it. But and ultimately, it doesn't really affect...
If your car breaks down, you die. That's funny. It's all pipes. No, just saying, like, if you're stuck somewhere and your car breaks down, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a cold one.
I mean, you're not going to...
But hopefully you're not, like, in the middle of nowhere.
No, we're not in Siberia.
Yeah. And if you are, just open up your Apple phone, as Sharif was mentioning there. Even my kid right now, he's hitting the satellite feeds on his phone. He's just like, he's doing it with his iPhone 14. He's like, Dad, look, I have a satellite option now. I'm like, well, I think that's just for emergencies. I don't know if you can actually... call out on those things.
Worst case scenarios.
Oh, you can now, yeah. So because he was at the snowboarding, he was talking about that. So he was talking about getting satellite connections. So I don't know. Anyways. All right, man, 69,000 Bitcoin, oil moving around, silver, gold. Peter Schiff coming at noon, the US dollar moving around. You guys mentioned the Japanese yen there as they had the election over the weekend. And I think it probably went as expected, but maybe not as dominating there by a majority vote there. So
it wasn't as big.
It's going to be a good one. We're going to go back over the desk, figure out what they're talking about.
A couple things. This one, first off, you mentioned FedEx, and I hadn't zoomed out on this thing for quite some time, and wow, what a monster. Back to all-time highs on a weekly chart. That's a weekly chart right now of FTX. A couple of notes on this one this morning, and also a new purchase that they have made over in Europe.
Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't peg this one for such a move like that. I was looking at it. I told Neil, I'm like, have a look at the weekly, and that was one good-looking weekly candle. Let's talk about this. So a consortium led by private equity firm Advent, as well as FedEx, they've agreed to acquire parcel locker operator InPost for more than $9 billion. The deal values InPost at about 7.8 billion euros. It represents about a 50% premium to where they closed out on Friday. They are listed primarily in Amsterdam. InPost is what I'm talking about. They operate in they have about 61,000 automated parcel lockers across Europe. The locker model is kind of marketed as a cheaper, kind of final mile destination sort of thing for delivery. So, obviously margin's an issue here with FTX, so that's what they're looking at doing something like this. They've expanded rapidly both organically and through acquisitions. I'm talking about InPost. And FedEx is going to hold 37%, Brendo, as well as Advent. The CEO of InPost, he's going to hold about 16%. Then there's a different Czech investor called PPF. They're going to hold on to 10. They're the main investor right now in InPost. So let's see how this does. They're not going to integrate operations, but they will use that last little
the physical
exactly for the locker.
I 100% am all about this. If this completely eliminates trying to physically chase running down the street after FedEx trucks because they just refuse to even
I feel like
stop
there's a story
on the
there, Brendo.
Oh my God, there's so many stories. It's so bad. If you live in a condo in the city, it's a daily occurrence. You get you either get the sticker on the door that said "We tried, sorry," or they don't even do that. They just they drive by and say, "Oops." I'm just reading this Workday note as well. Workday W-Day, not really moving on this, but I mean this thing needs some sort of positive catalyst here. Workday saying co-founder Basuri is returning as CEO effective immediately, replacing the current CEO. So new CEO just announced here for W-Day, guys.
And you noticed it?
No, I was just telling Sean, like there was one day, it was a U.S. holiday, so I'm home. Obviously, you know, the expectation is maybe there'd be no one home, and they come to the door. So I kind of hear, and then there wasn't a knock. I'm like, oh, I thought I heard like something pulling up, whatever. So I'm like, it must have just not been me. I'm like, let me just go down and check. And dude, the sticker was there, and they were already leaving. And I'm like, you didn't even try. Like, I am home.
That's why I need a dog.
I didn't even get here in time.
My dog. Anybody comes within
minute,
meters of the house, and she's just like, like, oh, someone's delivering something. Whereby I have to select now Amazon not to deliver before 4 a.m. Amazon they'll deliver in my neighborhood. Yeah. So if I ordered something now, they'll be like, deliver it tomorrow. It's like, do you want it before 4 a.m. or after 4? I'm like, before 4 a.m. Like, I'll take it after 7, man. Let me wake up so my dog's not barking at the guy walking up and down the stairs.
Plus, the package would just be frozen overnight, which is depending on what you get.
No,
but FedEx, you know, we're talking about how strong in certain sectors of the market are and things making 52-week highs and all of that, or all-time highs and lots of things doing so. FedEx it's not a huge divvy, but you're still getting 1.5% there. You're also going to get, a sub. You're not going to. It's not a ridiculously good P. Like I think it's only like 17 or something. Like you're not sitting there at like 10 or 11 ultimately. But they've distinguished themselves. And what's crazy is how. And obviously, when you watch the show, we're going to be looking at things that you're going to that you're going to trade and you're going to move on that day. So I get it. Most days, you're not thinking about FedEx in that realm. That being said, it has put in a couple of sessions where right away, off the open, it does like these breakouts, and then that's your trade. So it's like these little consolidative areas. When it gets in a bit of a consolidative phase and it's an upward trend, you get a few of those in a row, 2 or 3, and then you get these breakouts. So it's done the whole consolidation a couple times here. And when that happens, you can find some breakout trades along the way. So it's not always about, and we've moved to looking at things like silver, which we don't always, or some of the memory names, which we don't usually look. But yes, certainly FedEx deserves to be on some radars here, whether you like how they deliver or not. That's a different story.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, whether or not you like Jim Cramer or not, man, this guy all summer, when I was listening to him, and I never got into it because I was like, I didn't really believe in it, but he was talking about FedEx and how it's been beat up and how there's a great, this was a great opportunity there on FedEx. So I know there's a lot of people that, won't follow him or inverse Cramer these, because this is just a huge move right here, breaking from 250, and this is a Cramer play, man. I'm going to give it to him when it's necessary. Broke through that 250 right there, and it's just upside since. So, shout out to all of that. I'm not in it, but that was just another sort of a look there on a beat up stock. Was also all over Procter & Gamble and J&J, which is why we're talking about that. You can also look at UPS. If you're looking for one that's maybe not as, egregiously pumping to the upside, this one is obviously doing the same thing, but just to get a different name under your portfolio, maybe UPS still has a little bit of room to grow to the upside. But I'm not in this space, so I don't know enough about one versus the other. But yeah, the shippers continue to be, really appreciating on some of the we saw Walmart last week. We've seen Target's taken off too. The Target's become a beast too. Walmart hitting the 1 trillion, Target going back up to the upside, Costco continued going higher there as well over the last couple of weeks. So a lot of the retail space continues to get bumped up, and there's a lot of consumers that continue to use the shipping option and don't want to go out of their houses, and don't blame them, especially with this kind of a weather situation either. And then just everything, just the hangover from COVID. A lot of people are still using that, sit at home and buy everything and get it all delivered. So, that's gonna need some delivery services logistically. And I like FedEx, man. I like UPS. I like all those names. So I just think they're a little bit too hot. Might want to slow down a bit. Let's figure out what's going on here with Costco, with FedEx, and with UPS, all the retail space, a big one. Did AEO, that bet was settled, wasn't it? Because it got over 26. Yeah, so yeah, Sharif already won that bet, I think, right? For that one. Because I know it had a huge run up. It's not about the bet. I just wanted to see what was going on here with some of these names. Trying to hold out as well. AEO, ANF, Abercrombie & Fitch, another name that's starting to go. We saw Lululemon make a huge move up. We got out of a little bit. Now it's all the way back down again. So I don't know, but here's ANF. Also making the move lower here as we've come back in on some of the retail. The retail is a big space yet still to report. So we're going to see a lot of these names coming through over the next couple of weeks. So Macy's, another name for a real estate piece as well, possibly moving to the high side here. Gap. So many names to look at as we head into retail earnings. I mean, they're sort of the next round to come through here. Not this week. I think it's next week.
Next week should have dropped this week.
But anyways, okay. Yeah, that's it. We're going to go through the rundown very, very soon. The market seems to be a little flat here off the open, if anything, coming back in just a bit, but not doing too much. We had a nice little bump up. Now we're trying to hover around this 25,000 mark, which is all the way down here. We'll see if we can breach 25,000. I do have it written on my note today for the TQQ trade, so we'll see if we can get going on that a little
Did you just see this headline? Is that what you said, AEO?
AEO? No, I didn't. I was only talking about it because of all the shippers and all the retail. What was it?
No, there's literally a headline just hit NYSE content update. American Eagle Outfitters and Sydney Sweeney to ring the opening bell.
She has a lingerie.
But that literally just hit the wire.
Though? I don't know what day is it today.
It hit it 1 minute ago. that hit the wire just now. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if it says, is that today they're ringing the bell?
I don't know. Anyway, Sydney Sweeney's obviously gave them a little bit of a boost. There is also a new lingerie, or I think it's lingerie line, sleepwear, I don't know, Sydney Sweeney. So I don't know if that is a deal with AEO or not. Maybe it is. That would make some sense. Okay, let's go back over the desk. Do you know if that's true, Sharif? Because I know she's releasing. I know you're a fan. If she's releasing, there's a new collab or something, or you're releasing her own line.
Yes.
Because she got in trouble hanging everything over the Hollywood sign, apparently last week.
She's got her own brand new. Can you take a guess what, Brendo? Lingerie line. Yeah. I mean, it's right down Sydney Sweeney's alley. It's all over her Instagram account. Just saying.
I have so many comments. I was telling you I watched that movie Housemaid.
Good movie though.
It was a good movie.
Can I say one thing?
It was well written, I'll say.
Why? What's wrong with Joe over there?
Joe, have you seen Housemaid? It's a good movie. The book is
better, eh?
Is Sydney Sweeney in the book? Who cares about the book?
We're having a good time.
All right. Tesla, just real quick here. On the way back down, it did pop up there a little bit, back about 412. There's a story this morning on the solar business for Tesla. It did try to bounce there a little bit into the weekend, but another one that has a long way to go if it wants to.
Yeah, this is really interesting, and we saw this with their earnings report, Brendo. Remember their energy segment is like one of the fastest growing ones. It's not the most profitable, obviously. We're talking about battery packs, solar, etc. A lot was made this weekend by YouTube review artists, let's just call them that, about kind of the feasibility of SpaceX putting some of these data centers in space, at least in the next 2 to 3 year window. They're saying, yeah, they were in China apparently looking at solar panels with a lot of these large-scale solar panel producers in China, which is not a good look if you're definitely looking to kind of Americanize your supply chain, but it shows you how really intently he is looking at this kind of thing.
Is the panels, set that aside, I mean, he's talked about the storage aspect of this. And I mean, from what I've read, as far as the Tesla roof is concerned, the major cost is not necessarily the panels, it's the storage unit to keep the power, once not only you've powered your home, but the extra somewhere. And that's where the actual, major cost comes.
And there were some people speculating. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of these Chinese phone makers, like your Honor, Oppo, Huawei, except Samsung, and the Android side, I know they're not Chinese. They're using silicon. What is it called?
I was reading that. Yeah,
silicon,
a different type of
carbon.
It's a different type of battery
material.
So
I forget the name of it specifically, but it carries a lot more energy than your normal lithium-ion batteries, right? And so you're getting like 7,500 milliamp hours in the same size that iPhone is putting out 4,900 and 5,000. So I was doing a little digging, and looks like Tesla's investigating that as well, so they carry more in their battery packs. However, there's an industry concern that says that they expand, Brendo, because a lot of the heat and cold has a lot of expansion and contraction, and so that some people are saying gets a little bit deformed, which is why you're not seeing the big names throw their hat into that ring.
Maybe at some point they venture down that road, but not yet. MKBHD had a great video on that, explaining that technology, if anybody wants to go check that out. Let's talk about the market here, and then we'll get into everything that's moving around this morning.
A marked recovery, guys, from where we closed out on Thursday. Friday's closing print, a lot closer to the high, 690.5. That's where we closed out. We're below it right now. In fact, we're below 690, 689.75. We're down 0.13, but it's still very, very early. So here's the deal. We're going to look to that Friday high, $692 on the SPY. If we get above that 692, we're definitely looking at that sell zone between 694 and 695. You can see we topped out there a few days last week. If we start selling off, Brendo, we're looking to that overnight low at around 688 as a first level of support.
All right, if you haven't done so yet, there it is. The watch list comes absolutely free every single morning right to your inbox. Link is below in the description. Top link, in fact, in the description will get you to the sign-up page. Lots to know this morning. I mean, keep in mind as well, it's going to be an interesting week on the economic side of things. We'll get that delayed non-farms payrolls number from Friday that we didn't get because of the kind of government shutdown, I guess. Coming up on Wednesday. So Wednesday morning, 8:30, we'll get non-farm payrolls, CPI this week as well. So lots to look forward to. Let's talk Bitcoin here. We are trying ever so slightly to hold on to some key levels here after a decent bounce into the weekend, but not much follow through here yet for BTC.
No, it's keeping an eye on it on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday to see, because we know it has outsized days on the weekend because the liquidity is a little bit weaker or a little bit less. And I think it got to 71 and change, guys, but really feeling like a bit of a top there, down below 70 here to start the morning. There's an interesting article on the morning note. It's basically talking about institutional skepticism in Bitcoin. They're saying, a certain veteran Wall Street investor, he's arguing that Bitcoin continues to struggle, the institutional allocators, because there's still that clear lack of absence of that durable investment narrative. He says, large pools of capital still view Bitcoin as a speculative rather than core asset. And that makes it hard for these pension funds, these sovereign wealth funds, to really get into it as opposed to gold, which, has a clear upside narrative. So, if you're reporting back to your shareholders or your pension holders, in this case, Brendo, you got to be able to explain away your decision, and at the moment they can't.
And the volatility aspect still clearly in play as well. There was a period of time where people were saying, oh, the volatility's gone because of institutional involvement. Look at the chart. Not the case, guys. What do we do here?
Yeah, it's, I'm going to still be bearish on it right now. It's ultimately a drop in the bucket bounce because you had that wipeout bottom in the 60K. But as long as we're sort of respecting the technicals here, the prior support has not been retested. That's just like a hair over the 70 level, like 74. So until we break that out, it's hard to look at this. And here's that 74, just looking at it on like a 1 hour chart. Like there was no threatening of that over the weekend. You got into the 71, just underneath 72 range. And then it was really about how we had support at 70,000 all day Sunday, and then we just sort of lost it very, very cleanly, no retesting, and we're just getting a lower high. So 74 resistance, lower high underneath that 72, then we lose the 70 level. That just tells me you're still in this, like, you can short the pops mode. And I think if we start closing above 74, then you get pretty excited that this dip has some legs to maybe retest some other highs. Otherwise, you know, it's a kind of like an approve it moment. And I felt the same way when we dipped into 80,000. I'm like, okay, prove it back above this trend line from 2023. And it just couldn't do it. Like, you'd get up to the top and it would just sell off again when it got to the top resistance. So when we lost 90,000, I felt the same way. It's just that was a trend line resistance. In this case, it's going to be this resistance at about 74,000. So short the pops, looking specifically at IBIT here. You've got the prior close area, which is like 39.7, and then of course like the $40 like even level. But I'm shorting pops into that going into Monday's session. And the good thing is, hey, you've made a bottom. I don't want to sound all doom and gloom. Like you did make a temporary bottom. It was a wipeout bottom on volume. So there's still a chance you could put in the higher low and maybe break out. I'm just not seeing it happen the weekend and not seeing it happen today. But it certainly could later on. For today, still looking short.
Yeah, you're underneath this. This is a 5-minute chart. This is 200 period moving average. You know, the trend has been very much to the downside. Obviously, we've been following this thing the whole time. We only broke above it once. Now it's back on the 30th, and then obviously on Friday we had a pretty epic play right there back to the upside, but we're unable to hold this 200 period moving average. So obviously this is on IBIT. It's not on Bitcoin. So if you put a Bitcoin 200 period moving average on a 5-minute chart, it's a continuous trade, right? So IBIT doesn't necessarily have that strength to it. But if you're just going to look here and we'll zoom in just a little bit here, this is going to be an interesting level to break through, 3880. So, depending on what we're thinking here, I should have put this on the note. It's not on the sticky note today, but a breakdown right around this area, this pre-market level is fine. You got the VWAP underneath, that's 39.15, 39.50 up top. So you want to give this thing about $1 if it breaks lower, and I think that you could, retrace back into that 64, 65 area on IBIT, which gives you everything you need for this trade. So yeah, would like to see it kind of hang out and not make the move immediately, but I just do think that if we break below that, what did I say, 38.80 there, then thinking that, it's probably gonna do that before the open happens. But there it is right here. There's the 200 period right here on the 5 minutes. So if we can break right around there, yeah, 38.80, 38.60. This level, I think, is a short. So let's wait to see if that hits. That's where we sort of got going there on Friday, leveled out and then ripped, and now you're back in. So let's see if we hold some of these levels. But I'm sort of with Neil here. I'm looking more short than long, unfortunately, on Bitcoin there today. We're about to get into our TQQs. I'm not going to do it in the pre-market, but this is about to break $50, which has been the level that I'm looking at there on the Nasdaq. I do have it all written right here. The sticky note is now out. SoFi, TQs, SLV, and Coinbase. Go find it right now. I'll put it in the chat, but up on Twitter. Go find the note. So we'll talk about that as we go. Next one on HIMS. Let's go find out the story over there with HIMS.
Yeah, still leaking to the downside here. Fresh lows right now for HIMS, 20 plus now for HIMS on the day. You made a good point. When it comes to what's actually happening here early on this morning from a trademark standpoint, I'm not too sure what they thought was going to happen.
I don't get it, Brendo. They're just really trying to test their luck. I was telling Brendo about a Canadian guy, his modus operandi was, I'm going to try to steal your drug, I'm going to copy it, put it into the market, and your job is to stop me in court. And that was his modus operandi. He made some money, he lost some money, but that's how he did business, Brendo. And it
ended up getting disappeared.
Yeah, he's no longer with us.
It's a side story, but
he's no longer with us anymore. Yeah. Him and his wife. If you know, you know. All right, Hims and Hers scrap plans to sell the knockoff Wegovy pill after mounting pressure from U.S. regulators. We're talking about the FDA. We're talking about the Department of Justice. We're talking about civil suits from Novo Nordisk. It was priced quite aggressively at $49 a month, far below brand alternatives. Just by way of comparison, Wegovy was being sold, or semaglutide was being sold by Novo Nordisk, the oral version, at $150 a month. This was selling at $49, be it a one-off special, and then it would move up to $100. The decision came after the FDA signaled it would crack down on compound weight loss drugs that are not FDA approved, and regulators really want to emphasize that patient safety, drug efficacy, and misleading direct-to-consumer advertising is the reason they're being so difficult on this, and the regulatory stance effectively closes the loophole. So we'll have to see if they find a new one. They did successfully have a loophole exploitation earlier last year when there was a backlog of this drug. They couldn't put it to market, so there was a one-off exception that compounding pharmacies could put it together as long as there was a shortage. Shortage is no longer there, Brendo. They can't sell it.
I was just checking from the high when they announced this, going back to Thursday last week to where we are today. It's 40%.
Novo? Or
No, HIMS. 40%. From that high that it made on the announcement to the low right now, guys. Just unreal for HIMS here.
Yeah, it's unreal, but it's happening, and it's now down 23%, making fresh lows. You got to go back to 2024 for the next significant level. In here in September is like 13 and change. That's a big, because you're blowing through all this support from the end of the year. So you're really just kind of left with this $13 level. I'm not saying it gets to 13 today. Like, that's insanely extreme. But if there's, and we're keep accelerating. Like, look at our rides away from VWAP. We were saying maybe 30 minutes ago, hey, look for like open pops in the VWAP in 18.5 for a continuation short. I'd still stick with that. The volatility is going to be here. It's obviously going to be SSR, so the short sell restriction, or say that and it gets misleading. The uptick rule is going to be in effect, so you can't hit the bid to go short unless the last tick was green and was an uptick. So that's going to be in effect. Sometimes you get these bounces off the open with that, so I would look for that 18.5 VWAP area for a fade on HIMS, and I think it looks like it's head toward 13. You keep your ears to the ground, obviously, in a situation like this. Throughout the week, they did come out with a response saying that they will continue to fight for the consumer to have options. What else are they going to say? They understand that a good portion of their business model is under threat, so they're going to have to come up with some kind of a fight. But right now, they're losing that fight. And the other aspect of this that I think can get lost is even when it seemed there was the chance that this was positive, the market was still selling it off on bumps. Like, it wasn't even lasting 30, 40 minutes at the open when it was spiking before the sell-off came in. So in that kind of an environment, it's hard to look bullish.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think this is just not looking great. I mean, someone said maybe they'll get delisted. I don't know about that, but we'll have to wait. I mean, and I know Brendan said like down 40%, and then she was like, what, Novo? I mean, this is part of the problem, is it's also happening in the space as well. Novo Nordisk, 65% down, $65, sorry, down to $45, and trying to find a base here as well. Maybe we did find one in and around this $45 mark for NVO. They're up 5% here as well today. So it kind of affects both of these names, Novo Nordisk and and HIMS. But Eli Lilly continues to be on a roller coaster over the last little while as well, trying now to get back up to all-time highs. So we made that move up, then we made that move back down, and now we're trying to regain some strength here. Eli Lilly, I'm really looking for this name to break through this 1120 mark. It's not going to happen today, I wouldn't imagine, but something to watch out for. Eli Lilly on strength in the GLP-1 space, especially with the pill form coming through. There was another commercial, I guess it was Wegovy, so I guess that's Novo Nordisk, but about the pill version again yesterday on the Super Bowl. So just looking to see if that continues to get a little bit higher here, as it's going to matter, the ability to produce as many of these pills as possible, all of the production, all the plants and everything. Eli Lilly should have a better cost basis on all of this. So this is what's exciting. And we do know that there's Trump RX. I mean, it's sort of inflating or deflating, some of the pricing here of the health insurers. So we'll see how that affects pill formation, not, the reception of various, prescriptions and whatnot for GLP-1s. So we're going to see what happens, but I like Eli Lilly in their pipeline. We've talked about XBI, IBB, some of those biotech ETFs. So Eli Lilly is something to look forward to trading if it breaks this 1120 marker. But yeah, HIMS doesn't seem like I just wait for areas to fade. I mean, whenever there's a gap, we always hear play to some sort of VWAP, and that's right now is at 1850. So a bump back there for HIMS at 1850. Let me try with 100 shares here. Free to short. So here at Real Trading, we can get them for free. So if you are going to look short for HIMS, make sure you double check your broker that they do have some shares for you before you try to get those shares short. Probably worth paying a few cents if you're looking to trade it. It's going to be a volatile one. 8 million shares on its way to 9 early, and because it's on New York, we can actually have a quick little look here at the imbalance locator and see if there's anything here on HIMS right now early. So it's there right there for 600,000 shares to sell here. So Stellantis, we had that story last week and again here today as well. So HIMS with a quick little sell, pretty mixed buys and sells here today. Normally you'd see like a name like FedEx. There's Oracle with a bid down there as well. So Carnival with a sell. But yeah, Stellantis, Oracle was just on here, down here, and so is HIMS. So, GM with a little bit of a sell there as well. So, okay, let's go back over the desk and talk. Oh, there's Oracle. Oracle on an upgrade. Let's go talk about the story, and we'll see if we can hit it long today.
I was just reading this note on XAI here. We were touching on this going back to when that deal was announced, SpaceX and XAI combining. The information reporting XAI on its own burned $1 billion a month through last fall, according to the information. They just did a deal with Apollo, $3 billion funding deal with Apollo for chips.
And like, this is what I was reading as well, that it's such a competitive space, competing with Llama, you're competing obviously with Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. So you're having to spend up the wazoo. Yeah. And so it's going to be an unprofitable business for a little while. So that's why they teamed it with a profitable business. At least that's my understanding.
Let's see. Here's Oracle, meanwhile, this morning. That's 150, almost to the number at the top here this morning. We're coming back in a little bit, but nice upgrade here for Oracle.
Yeah, D.A. Davidson with the nod today for Oracle, upgrading them from a neutral to buy, but most importantly, guys, keeping that same $180 price target. The analyst there, Gil Luria, he believes the market has overpenalized Oracle due to the uncertainty around, we've talked about this, AI exposure. The call frames the current setup as a sentiment reset rather than a fundamental deterioration of their long-term positioning. He said, look, a revamped OpenAI is expected to reemerge after major challenges, for example, Google, and it's going to meet its major commitments, much of which is with OpenAI. He also noted that OpenAI has got about $40 billion in cash and could raise about $100 billion more. Again, that could go ahead and fund the big deal that they have with Oracle. The market is currently pricing, though, OpenAI's relationship as negative, which D.A. Davidson views as a mispricing by the market. And they also push back that Oracle's software business is kind of behind it. He says just based upon the current revenue that they're bringing in for their software business, that justifies the 18 times multiple. You'll have to kind of form your own opinions there. And the company carries, Brendo, $130 billion in debt and $248 billion in operating lease commitments. That is a heavy cross the
a bottoming tail here on the weekly chart from last week coming into play. But I mean, this 150 may be a very, very key level. It's a bit of a pivot if you go back far enough into the beginning of last year, really end of 2024, beginning of 2025. But I mean, if it's going to hold anywhere, guys, hopefully we get some sort of support coming into play here.
Yeah, like it's chart. I know you were looking at the weekly, but like I've been looking at the monthly, just like I was for Microsoft. And I think when you do that, you do see that the place that this has bounced time and time again on a monthly time basis has been that 50-period moving average. It's failed to break it. I mean, this goes as far back as 2010. So I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much good enough here for Oracle. But this is it's distinctly different from some of the other pullbacks that it's had in terms of scope. Like this is the first time it's pulled back more than 50%, I believe, from some of those highs in here. That said, you're going to close this month. It'll take a while to close this month, but I do like I'm looking at names like this or Softy at the end of this month, and it's like, okay, on the monthly chart, which one do I want to pick up? Oracle does fit firmly there. On the day trade, though, it's the 152 and the 156 that I kind of had my eyeballs on, because that was a big dump zone out there on Wednesday. And then we retested, and then support held clean at 152 the day before, and then held clean as resistance the day after. So I think that's going to be the big line to watch this week for a breakout trade, just on the shorter term. But that monthly chart starting to look pretty good for Oracle. At some point, you've just priced in all the OpenAI risk and the debt risk. And I'm not going to be sitting here saying that I know when that's fundamentally true, but that monthly chart I do like. So I think it's going to be a buy near toward the end of the month, so long as nothing disastrous happens.
Yeah, I still, even just for today, I mean, it's upgraded. But I'm looking short on the market, so I don't know exactly where we're going to be rolling through here. But 146 to 147 or so for an area. But this is coming in real quick, right? Like, this is something that we talked, I didn't even write it on the note today, but Yeah, I thought that this sort of AI build, I mean, I like the upgrade. It's nice to hear it. I don't necessarily want to buy a stock or sell a stock just because it's been upgraded or downgraded. I mean, we've seen the most ridiculous upgrades and downgrades come through. So that's not necessarily a thing. But this 147 has tried to hold. So I'd say you have to look for a 146 dip buy opportunity here for Oracle. Yeah, the cloud build out has been expensive, but they're through it. They also got the financing raised last week. So yeah, I think if you're using other people's money here, especially shareholders, you have to be careful with it, but not that careful. The market's already taken it down. So you're down half from where we had sort of dumped our shares. I feel like it is time to look at buying some Oracle. We talked about the cheap PE, 17 on the current, I think 24 on the forward, or the other way around, look it up. But you know, it's pretty cheap considering any of the AI plays you're looking at. So for me, between 146 to 147, let's let it get down there, and then we'll watch it and potentially run it from there. So that's kind of the stuff that I'm looking at. The market's coming down a little bit. Like I had written down short on the TQs here and short on Coinbase, but everything is falling apart right in front of our face right now. Not right in front, but if we lose this bid right here, then I do think that we do have a march back in. Or we can talk about Coinbase soon? No. So Coinbase, I already had this written down as breaking 161 here. Obviously, we write it down earlier. There's the 161 break right now on Coinbase. So it looks like now we're dealing with a 160 break as everything pointing southbound right now. So we did have the good levels there, but we're not going to take it in the pre-market. Coinbase now down $1 from there, and it's not even... Crypto's not even moving yet, man. It's only at 68.5. So we'll see if Bitcoin does want to break lower, and there goes Coinbase now as well. So with only 10 minutes to go, be careful. We have these imbalances coming out in 5 minutes on the Nasdaq, but everything's losing a bid pretty fast. And there goes, like, I'm not even in the TQs here, and there it goes. So there's breaking the level that I want short, but you know, for now, we might as well just wait. My orders don't trigger in the pre-market. So we'll just take a small little piece here at 98, I guess, and we'll start the short here on the TQs. But waiting for this market to open up is the preferred mode of entry for me. So we'll start a very, very small short, looking for this, you know, 50 and a quarter or so to hold right off the open. We're going to start short the market.
Another one with a positive note here this morning. SoFi with a nice gap higher, almost got above 22 there and failed. We're sliding down here once again for SoFi with the overall market, but an upgrade today.
Yeah, Citizens analyst Devin Ryan, Brendo giving them the nod, upgrading it to an outperform from a market perform and assigning a $30 price target. The upgrade comes after SoFi sold off to about $21, which is about 20% year to date down, following that peak $30 in late 25. They view the analyst agency, that is, they view the pullback as an opportunity rather than a structural breakdown in the story. And they're arguing that SoFi has been kind of caught in this risk-off style of rotation, which has penalized the higher growth financial names. He believes that the sell-off is driven more by multiple compression and technicals rather than any fundamental reason. He's described them as compounding at scale with accelerating diversification away from lending towards that fee-based and capital-light revenue streams. And we talked about this. They added about 1 million new users after, or they call them members, I believe, after the earnings report, bringing the total to about 13.7. Analysts at the time of that earnings were saying, look, the new member acquisition is the best forward guide we have to how they're going to monetize these people. So let's see.
Coming back into basically Friday highs here for SoFi currently, guys. But yeah, market weak here.
Yeah, the market looking a little bit weak, and we'll get to just one quick little segment. We'll get to SoFi. I just want to throw up a super chat that we just got from Nick. And as always, Nick, appreciate the super chat. That's how we roll. You're asking for thoughts on SHOP. You're looking to go long at 90, too greedy. I'm assuming you mean you're asking too greedy because you think you're waiting for it to go down too far. This is a stock I used to own. And obviously, when I hear to give financial advice and just look at the chart, I see exactly what you would be looking at $90. On the monthly chart, that is the support. And it was a significant level. It was support back in 2020. It was resistance back in, kind of early 2024. And then it was support here. So that is the significant price level. So and I'm looking at the same thing you are. It's not something I'm trying to dip by. I feel like there's going to be lots of opportunities to pick stocks up on what we think might be relatively cheap prices, but seems to be like the right price area. And look at what it's doing on this monthly chart. That is heavy selling for a couple of months in a row. It hasn't shown signs of a turn. Oftentimes when you see levels on a monthly chart that start to form and start to look good, you realize when you dig deeper and you find these bottoms, you don't need to have had the low. when a level gets cheap on a monthly chart, it tends to be down there for a little bit, or at least give you time within the month to be able to get there. So still looks like it's weak and heading down to me on that Shopify. Hopefully that kind of helps. But you seem to already have a good handle on where it is that you want to look to buy. SoFi was doing a little bit better this morning. It was about 4 or 5% at one point on this gap up. But I do like the head and shoulders. Reverse head, I guess inverse head and shoulders is the term you're supposed to use. So like there's your wipeout bottom, there's a shoulder, there's a shoulder. You just need to hold on to this. If there's one stock that had a positive note that actually looked like something for me today alongside, it is actually SoFi. And it's simply going back in and holding this close area just underneath 21. So as we dip, look for a mean reversion. I always say I need to have an entry set up down there as well, bottoming tail candle, trend break, like that type of a thing, because we're underneath the volume weighted average price, like very clearly, and trending down. So as it come into the prior day highs, prior day close area, I would like to see it break trend. VWAP's going to be a little bit too far away. So I'll be looking trend break on SoFi, and if it never does, which usually at some point there's a trend break, that's when I like to take my shot.
All right, so I have SoFi written down here as a $21 long right here, but again, you know, it's coming in pretty decently. I'm short the market to start, so we do want this to sort of settle down a little bit. Nice upgrade today. Obviously, I've been thinking it's been beat up a little bit too much. We did buy some last week at 22 bucks. We'll see if it wants to wind up holding that level. That's sort of where we were earlier. I could easily see us, you know, come right back in, and it's not that 21 is like the be-all end-all level, but you know, right into here, obviously, we got to move down, and it's very, very capable of breaking it. But I wrote down that we had lost too much money trying to go long SoFi, but trying to catch tops of it. Like, so it's been up. It's a great earnings report. Wow, SoFi, you know, and try to buy dips. So I'm just going to wait to see if the dip winds up holding. But 21 looked pretty good there on Friday. So let's see if it winds up holding that area. And if it does, then we can use that as our launching spot for SoFi. It's on the sticky note. It is my number one idea today. So if we can get SoFi back down into that 21 marker, then let's just do that. Like we said, we're trying to go small here on the TQ, so we'll take a fill as it comes right back up into basically the 50-period moving average. Trying to use like 50 and a quarter or so as our out. I'd hate, you know, the imbalances just came out, right? So you're going to get a little bit of up and down. We don't want to get layered into the short right now ahead of all this. But there's IBIT with a bid, so Bitcoin shouldn't be affected by IBIT, but there it goes a little bit right now for IBIT upside, Ethereum with an upside bid, Amazon with upside. So right here to start the day, we may get taken out of this futures trade because there are some nice buy side action here in the overall Nasdaq, it seems like, with a little bit of a bump up there. So let's just respect that and see what's going on here with our TQ position. In it early on purpose. It broke our level, but we're not going to trade it too heavy there. 50 and a quarter or so as our out if this market gets going early. All right, one more to talk about Kroger.
A volume behind this move, but ex-Walmart CEO coming in to take over KR. Back to 71 here again. Not a lot of volume behind it, but a nice pop.
Yeah, Greg Foran. Yeah, the appointment comes in nearly a year after the board ousted former CEO Rodney McMullen following that investigation into personal conduct. The announcement could come as early as Monday, meaning, well, at least at the time of the writing of this article, they hadn't announced it officially. He's a seasoned retail executive, this article states, most recently serving as the CEO to Air New Zealand for about 5 years. Prior to that, as Brendo mentioned, he was the president and CEO of the Walmart USA, and analysts see his background as a strong fit for Kroger. The market appears to be pricing in improved execution, discipline, and strategic clarity under the new leadership.
On the back of 2 or 3 days to the upside here for the stock, guys, KR looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think it fits in that category of, hey, look where there's elsewhere where there is strength. And you know, it broke. This is not making any fresh highs right now in the moment, but it's very, very close to catching like one more bid, and then you're through 75-ish. Area, and you're going to get a big breakout, but it is certainly a trend break. The thing about it breaking the trend today on this report is you need to confirm it, and it's very light volume for Kroger. The 200 period sits here at 67, so it's a very wide range, but it's just a huge gap up with almost no volume for follow through. So this is one of those give it a couple of sessions. Don't know if it's going to be an obvious trade in here. And I would feel the same way. One to the downside, which we didn't talk about Monday. Everyone's asking like, why is Monday to the downside? They reported, and they actually beat. I know they're down 21%, but believe it or not, they actually beat on the top and bottom. It was the guide that was poor for them. So just the guidance and down 21%. It was a pretty decent miss on the guide from MNDY. And this is a polar opposite here, where it's like flat bottom breaking and doing like a HIMSS moment where they're absolutely getting smashed. So a couple of earnings names, not going to be on the list for me per se, but certainly going to be on watch. I think at least KR to the upside for a potential breakout. So 90 seconds to go. I know Sean was showing you guys the imbalance locator. Nothing has changed in the last little bit. You're getting SOXS as a small buy in there. HIMSS has decreased a little bit down to 400,000 to the sell side.
All right, so just real quick, I'm going to be looking at silver. It's all on the note. You can go find it at Trader TV. Sean, we are looking at silver longs around $70 to $71. We'll see if that winds up kicking out for us here. $71 or so long for SLV. We're already short the Qs, so that should be interesting. There, we're looking for the SoFi long. We talked about that a little bit. That's coming in into 21. I'd rather wait for that. And then we did have the Coinbase short written down at 161. That's broken here as well, but we'll want to watch out for that action. Again, there's a gap. If we can get up to VWAP, then we can look to short that and then maybe play 161 on the way back in. So yeah, my out on this, this is the same fill. We took like a unit there, another unit here. We're not layering into this trade here off the open. That was it. We were just going to let it go to see if it gets into that 50-25 area. If it breaks it, it breaks it. So we didn't average in anything there at the 50 period moving average, which we could have done, but we're trying to be a little more responsible and not just get layered into this thing right off the jump. We've seen the market rip and then absolutely tank. I mean, the first half hour can sometimes be that little bit of fake and all that kind of stuff. So watch out for any sort of a blast higher here with only 10 seconds left. We're going to watch out for some Palantir as well. PLTZ you can trade. 136 here for Palantir. All right, here we go. 2 and 1. Let's go. The market's now open. We want to thank everybody for watching with us here today as we just watch out for the S&P 500 dancing around just a bit here and the Nasdaq as well. Here's a little bit of a move lower as there goes the TQs back downside a bit. Very, very choppy to start with here early, but we've got it. Might as well take a piece out here at 88s. Nice move to the low side here for the TQs, bidding 81s. Neil, we did it again right there, and there's a nice move to start the day. Now 30 cents in the money, now 40 cents in the money on the downside for the Nasdaq. And oh boy, yes sir, there it is. It's 2 times your daily goal right there off the open. We got to increase our goal there. We only have 2 units here. We should have had a little bit more on that initial break, but there it goes, man. As it was written down, we ain't Nas, but we got the trades right here as it was written. Bye-bye TQQs. Nice move to start the day.
Yeah, great move to start the day, and it's only the Nasdaq really going. But Nvidia in the other direction. We didn't talk at all about the chips. There's a negative story on Micron I want to pay attention to, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Nvidia actually spiked up on this market weakness and is pressing higher, which does lead me to one chip name, which I'm looking the other direction in. But Intel just dropped $1.50 right away off the open and is already down 4%. So that whole 50 fail break, this day they didn't actually break the 50 at any point. It just instantly dropped 3% here on Intel. Actually, check that, 3%. 6%, because this was actually up a little bit. So nasty move here for INTC. I will look to short the pop if we even get one at this point. Yikes. That was a nasty drop. And not much happening in IBIT, but the big thing I noted was Nvidia going to the upside. As the Qs spiked down, for some reason, Nvidia is strong.
So I don't know what that HI stock is there, but that's another stock there. We can see Neil's in HI there. I'm in TQQs, so watch out for that. We did cover a little bit there. Obviously, it went down into the 60s. It went down into the 40s as well. So we're going to watch out there for the TQQs, potentially trying to push just a little bit lower. Yes, sir, the sticky note does deliver one more time. So thank you so much for that. And we'll hope you guys, just keep on checking that out. Thank you so much to Trader. This is the man or woman last week that was reminding me to always, stick with it. So we did do that. We did it early there as well. But yeah, we just made, like I was saying, just a couple hundred. We didn't make that much there. But as you guys know, we could always lose that real quick right now. So let's wait to see what happens now with the Qs. We'll have to watch out for it. SoFi does fall right into $21. I mean, if that winds up holding, then that would be a mistrade for me right now. It was a little too aggressive. We did have this one as our #1 trade, so potentially looking there to see if we do wind up holding. Coinbase is see you later. Right now, as you can see, the market's trying to go down, but back, oh no, Coinbase upside. I was watching out for crypto there because that was 69.1 when we opened, then it was 68.8, so I was like, Coinbase is probably getting hit to the downside, but it is not. Coinbase making a move higher there, so maybe moving a little opposite of what I had thought there for Coinbase. All right, here's the market move right back up there for TQQs. So let's go figure out where this move wants to happen. Potentially a reload in and around here, $50.14 if we get going there on the TQQs upside. We'll figure that all out. But yeah, keep your names pumping, man. We're going to look at the chat very, very soon.
No, absolutely blasting still is Nvidia. It's now up a couple of bucks off of the open here, catching 86. It just went green. IBIT, on the other hand, going in the other directions. We still like Bitcoin short. It doesn't really press. Obviously, it doesn't get anywhere close to 40, doesn't get anywhere close to the prior close. So you're looking at only the pre-market highs to be able to work off of. So if that's it, then that's where I'm going to try to go. It'll be 39. On IBIT, it's 39.3. You're just underneath 69,000 at this point. Uh-oh, what happened to my... there we go. No. All right, I'll have to I'll get that one back up. We were just under 69,000. I just lost my IBIT to show you. And we're right at 2K on ETH as well. So we're going to look to short some pops here in IBIT as we stay bearish on crypto and make a reach for it. It's a stretch. Let's say I'm not anything. Is it a bit of a stretch? I'm assuming that one's Sean's.
All right, yeah, thank you. We got reloaded here on the TQ. Thanks, Randy. I'll have to look at you in a couple of seconds, but here we go. So we're just going to get out a little piece here. The market is coming back up to the upside now, so yeah, just be careful. Like we've gotten out, as we said there, we just got it at the 50-period moving average. So yeah, just a little antsy here because our stop is only 12 cents away, and I'm trying to take like 1-to-1 type of stuff here early on this so that we don't wind up getting completely blown out of some of these trades. So if we do get an opportunity to take the one out, then we will do that right there. So here we go, man. TQQ is moving around. There it is. Yeah, let's go, man. Props it up. Let's get to the downside on a reloaded position right now on the Nasdaq short. So we'll see if it still wants to work out. I mean, there's a lot of stories happening today in the market. So an interesting one here. Needless to say, short so far, so good on this. We could double check out on silver, see what that, oops, where's SLV? There it is, SLV. Let's go have a quick look there. Yeah, that was going to be another name that we were going to look at, but it's downside right here for the Nasdaq early. And yeah, silver kind of got a little bit of a bump up there into 73.50. We're still looking for a lower take here, but let's just see if we can, get a little more aggressive on the sell-off here with the Nasdaq. That's sort of what I'm going to set my day with right now, and just give it a couple minutes here. We don't want to just stop out and get out so fast, even though we see that we have the P&L to do that. We're looking for a little bit of a bigger move here early. Maybe it's a sideways action. I mean, a lot of the earnings had come last week. So
tell that to Nvidia.
Yeah, Nvidia's probably ripping, right?
Nvidia is still going. I did get in under VWAP on IBIT, so IBIT lost of VWAP, whatever, lost the volume weighted average price here. So we're looking to add specifically at the volume weighted average price, right at about 39, but it is still an Nvidia story as it's now up 2% and still flying higher. Super strong, at least relative to, obviously relative to the market. And I said there was a negative story on Micron. Micron at the lows down 5%, so they're getting smashed a little bit here, along with HIMS, which, well, yeah, the end is nigh for HIMS. That didn't even try to bounce back into that 18.5. It just dropped $1.50. So much like IBIT, I'm going to look for VWAP here. If this one can pull back, if you don't get the pop and drop, the next place I look is the bounce into the volume weighted average price to continue the short. 26% down on HIMS. Their Novo knockoff, they pulled it, and the rug just got pulled on them.
Okay, good. All right, so anybody in the chat, let us know what you guys are thinking. We also do have, of course, if you type into the chat, a symbol, right? So right now, DVLT, so we can definitely go over, look at that as a name. Yeah, wow, good job for going with NVIDIA, man. That was a monster trade there, whoever went with that one. Okay, so DVLT, yeah, below 80 cents right now. We'll have a quick look down 7%. Amazon, here goes the futures back up to the upside. We are not reloading it. We've already sort of talked about that. AMD with a nice move today, right? There it is. It's trying to make it move higher. AMD to 210 there. Bitcoin falling a little bit there. SNDK CoreWeave. SoFi at 21 and change. That might be a play that we need to look at because that was on our radar. All right, so we only have about half of this position left. Hopefully this can work out. Our stop is at $50.30. It looks like it does want to come right back up here one more time. We can reload this, maybe very, very small up here. Just, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we'll try it one more time. Again, a breakthrough of 50.30, and that'll be the end of that. Well, here, 50, a little bit higher than that. Now that I see where this is. So $50.30. Yeah, so we're fine with that stop. $50.33 or so. Blast us out. It looks like it's trying to go back up to the upside. We had seen last week, right, with the futures, when one day it was like, it just blasted and kept on going and going and going. And that's why I want to try to hold the short in case it's a downside day, but it looks like we may be trying to turn red. But I mean, if Nvidia doesn't turn around, that's up $5 straight fire right now to the upside for NVDA. So we'll have to wait to see if that one can calm down right now. But nice downside take here. Let's just see if it continues for the TQQs.
Yeah, and as the market goes back up, SoFi did go clean almost exactly to the prior close.
Yeah,
it is what it is, like right? 2080. So it closed at 20, I mean, it's just underneath 21. So like 2086 is what the prior close was. It bounced right off of 2080. Clearly, this is looking, it's not as strong as Nvidia at this moment, but clearly it's looking like a bit of a bottoming tail. If it can get above VWAP, that's another place to look for the long. If it doesn't double bottom at that 2080 level, I'm looking up and I'm seeing silver. There's no chance it's silver dipping at this point. So if we're not going to get into the prior high on SLV, I got to at least start thinking about VWAP if I like this to the long side. You're consolidating. There's your dip. You just held the volume weighted average price. So if there's going to be a long in SLV, it's going to be different from the rest. All last week was trend breaks. This time I'm going to look at this trend it has going into the open and take the long. And my out is if it breaks the trend. So my out on silver is going to be if it breaks VWAP down and breaks the trend, which is different from what we were doing last week. It was always the opposite. I was always trying to short, which meant going long ZLS, actually. So we actually, well, you know what? IBIT's about to break the high as well. So I'm about to get out of that as we go long in silver and probably not going to want to be short in crypto as well going into it. The market's blasting. Nvidia wants 190. I'm going to cancel my Intel short because I don't want to do that going into a freight train.
Yeah. All right. So we went into SoFi finally. So we got stopped out of our TQQs. But as we had mentioned, the number one trade of the day for me was going to be SoFi. So we got to get into that. But there goes the TQQs. We weren't in SoFi early because we were trying to protect that long, that short in the futures. Not protect it, but just watch out for it because if the market did crack lower, then did not mind, getting some out there, obviously, on the TQs, but we had to watch out for SoFi. So it does come in. It was going to be a trade at 21 even. Now let's just wait to see if it can come back in. It just was nice. It just bounced off $30, 21.30. If we can get up to 21.30 again there for SoFi, we could take a little bit of profit. But let's just see where this name goes from here. Yeah, crypto and Coinbase, man. I mean, that was going to be a look for me early as well. 163, so no look there yet. DVLT was one of the top names there. WISA Technologies and moving around again down 7%. I'm not sure exactly what everybody wants to look at with this, but it's been a bottom of 64 cents for for DVLT there. I don't know, like the 50 period is still above $1, so we'll have to get above $1 before we're actually looking to make sure that that's trying to do something.
There was news last week on that.
Yeah, okay, maybe
it was news last week, and it was trying to press the dollar, but it just couldn't get there. So I think maybe it's like the hangover
could be something there.
Effect, because there's no DVLT doesn't have a catalyst this morning, everybody, and for penny stock, let's be real, you want a penny stock to actually have something happening or going on if you're going to get into it. But that's just me. It's not. Everyone, do your own thing. Oh, you got to be kidding me, HIMS. So HIMS, just going to cancel. That is right back into the lows on HIMS. Now 27% to the downside. It just continues to fall like a rock. Every single time, like this looks like it's strong heading into VWAP, the sellers came in and just took it 2% right quick on that bad boy. So I am trying to get that one short. but I might have to chase it a little further away from the volume weighted average price. I'm just going to try to put this trend line back in so you can see it there on silver. As it continues to get higher, the trend line will move away from the volume weighted average price on SLV. That's just the nature of the beast and how it goes. If it loses trend, I am out. So still nothing yet in HIMS for myself. I did cancel an order on Intel as the market started blasting, but it ended up not mattering because Intel didn't bounce anyways. Intel's now down 6%. Nvidia up 3, Intel down 6 into a blasting market. Intel just doesn't, it's just doing its own thing. I'm going to look for a catalyst here as to why it's so weak, relatively speaking. But I don't, yeah, like Adair, I just heard Adair say she couldn't find anything either. So there might actually not be anything on Intel. It could just be doing its own dance. So stay away from the long there. The market's clearly strong. Silver's getting back into the upside. That's up 5%. But along with gold, you're getting a nice recovery here, both of them looking pretty strong. Something we'll talk about with our guest, Peter Schiff, in just a couple of hours. So Peter Schiff going to be on the program. You know he's got to be liking this move.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here we go, man. We'll props it up for this one because at least we made back plus what we wind up. We'll wind up basically flat on the TQs, just paying a couple fees, but definitely not the runner that we had hoped it would be. We're now out of about 25% of SoFi, hoping that we can break out this high. Right now, I'm waiting for one more offer here at 21.35. If we can get that, then that will be the high, and then we can see if SoFi wants to run the rest of the day up to this 21.60 would be a nice little top side there for SOFI. This is going to be on here. My number one trade idea today was long 21 there on SoFi. So I know it's been a little bit of a rough day just with the futures going to the upside. Still looking for a short over there. Google did, blast higher and now is trying to get back a little bit into 323. Google had a really interesting move, went down to 317 and it was like, oh gosh, that sort of helped crack that lower bid that we took on the TQs. And then it just went to the upside, almost straight line. And now you're fading again here on Google. So not sure exactly what's wrong with this name because the futures are starting to go higher. Google's coming back in. So you see Google, you see names like Broadcom pumping to the high side as well. Obviously on good news here in the whole space. I mean, Nvidia, AVGO starting to go higher. Wow, this is starting to really get good on SoFi right now, man. I'm glad that we had a look over there. AMD, let's have a quick check. This will be the one that I'd short of any of them in the space. So, looking at a 210, 211, we've really done well shorting AMD today or over the last week, so that would be a good one. One more offer here at 34. There we go. We grabbed that, or 33s. We grabbed that on SoFi, and now we'll wait. Those are just two top ticks there. We're able to get out of a little bit. We still have more than half of this trade as it tries to go a little bit higher. The other name that we had written on our board here was Oracle. We can have a quick look at Oracle, but boom, there it goes. We actually said 146 to 147 area. The low of the day, 147. So that was a good little look there. But Oracle upside now. And other than that, like Tesla, we can check out that at $400. That's at 412. I guess as that's had a nice little move recently upside. Yeah, so things are starting to go now. We don't have any numbers.
Nvidia is just flying.
Yeah, Nvidia's a beast, man. Yeah, we say that hold, don't trade that one. Never get out of your Nvidia shares. I don't think that's.
No, I mean it's like they're just the king is finally doing king-like activities here to the upside. So 3% on Nvidia. There doesn't seem to be any end in sight. If you are looking, zoom out, and you will see there is resistance at 90. The 90 to 92 area on a 15-minute is going to provide you with a little bit of resistance, but a gap fill here on SLV is happening. There is 74 to 75 is kind of a prior resistance area here and a support level there. So as we press into the top, I'm looking to find my way out, reload off the volume weighted average price, because the other side of this coin is usually I am taking the break of the trend if and when it does happen on SLV. So we're running into some resistance at 74, but I respect the trend line at least as long as it holds. But I do see like a curl coming. If we lose this trend line, I'll probably do the standard like ZLS, I keep saying the wrong thing, ZSL, which is trending down. I like it when this breaks the trend and just go long this for the silver play. But for now, the long is working just fine and no complaints. As long as this Intel move continues to be under VWAP while Nvidia and the market are doing this, I'm going to look for VWAP here for short, but I'm not automatically taking this. Like I said, the market is screaming to the upside. Some of the other chip names are super strong, but it's under 50 bucks. And for me, Intel under 50 has been like a good fail spot for a short. So as it comes into VWAP here, we'll take one look to see if we get a topping tail or a hold underneath. But not just going to stand out in front of it.
Let's have a quick little look at yeah, we can definitely look at some SMR. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We can take a little bit more out as SoFi came back up to 30 there. We're still looking at SoFi. There's the name that we've been talking about a lot today is with Nvidia making the move higher. Amazon continues to be weak, man. Not a great quarter for Amazon, getting hit, obviously, on that Capex spend. So down another 1.7% there for Amazon. Let's go Eli Lilly. A pick that I made, but, you know, obviously I still think there's a lot more to go on Eli Lilly to the upside. We'll see if that keeps on going. Yeah, up 3%. We really, really like that name. Some of the utilities we've been talking about, well, we can even go over to energy names. They've been sort of blasting higher. Another recent purchase, XLE, for myself there, we added to it. So we'll have to wait to see if some of these energy names can keep on going with potentially, hopefully, some better news coming from Ukraine and Russia. I don't know. I mean, Iran is more the issue there with oil. We can try to figure that out. JP Morgan nicely up 1%. The insurance space still getting hit a little bit. Berkshire downside. MasterCard, some of the credit names down today. MasterCard and Visa with Wells Fargo there. Capital One somewhere. There's Robinhood, so that's nice. Like, despite crypto kind of flattening out here this morning, Robinhood up 5%. That's going to be nice. We had the upgrade there with Hood. I think Hood got an upgrade, but it's more SoFi was the one that we were looking at there today. So some of the bank stocks, KKR, BlackRock on some of the worries, of course, of private equity. And the SaaS names getting hit, so we worry about them just a little bit moving forward. And then just to talk about, not the consumer non-durables, I always have been highlighting Procter because the run that they've been on lately. So we look at that. Pepsi and Coke, both last week names, both getting hit today to the downside here. So this is just a little look at some of the different space that we have out there. And this morning we talked about the transports. I don't know. Uber's not the transport the same way that UPS or FedEx or Union Pacific, like any of these names really. DoorDash and Uber, I could definitely see connecting the dots there, but also the airlines getting hit today a little bit. Southwest, Delta, downside, United Air, everything downside on that spot. So it looks like today we're going to be getting a lot of the wins from the tech space. So that's going to be an interesting, because generally it hasn't been that way. So maybe this is a turn this week. We'll go back to growth, a little bit out of some value. But again, like, I would think that some of these tech names are starting to become value names at some of the pricing and some of those PEs. But Texas Instruments down. Obviously, we couldn't find a story for Intel. Micron downside today as well. So this is what's been flying around here in the overall market as I just continue to watch out for SoFi. Looks like we do have the wrong call in the TQs, which is fine. We got out of it real quick, man. We actually just lost a couple cups of coffee on that and making a couple cups now on SoFi. So relatively flat open for me here today so far. It'll be a pretty green day, but definitely not the same way it was early when we had that first move here. Like, if that had continued, then it was an oh boy day. But for right now, it'll just be a up green day, which we like. We were green every day last week, but SMR definitely one to look at here today as it's trying to go upside there up to 1750 back into 1680. So SoFi holding in and around right now 17 bucks. We'll have a look at this, but for now I'm only in SoFi. So yeah, SLV and SoFi it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, silver is doing its thing right now, but obviously I want to get to this Micron story because I don't think we talked too much about it. They're shut out of Nvidia's HBM4 plan, and it was weak. I know we're saying Micron had a negative story, but it has a chance to turn green here. So you're actually getting this blasting along with the rest of the market here as it tried to get to 390. But there was a negative story kind of out of the game with Nvidia temporarily. But obviously it's been a pretty strong move to the upside here. And now, like, I'm looking at this Intel, okay, now it's starting to give a little bit of a turn. There was nobody selling this at VWAP. It just kind of pushed right through, but I'm starting to see some signs that it wants to turn around here. So this is the one that I'm eyeballing. Silver, still going to go with the same plan of action. It's still trending up. If it can hold here, hold the trend line. It already wicked it once, but if it closes above the trend line a second time, then I'm adding to this right in front of this trend on the 3-minute, and my stop is already underneath this bar. Like, if we close the prior bar, I'm out, and I'll wait for VWAP. But if we can hold then it's a nice little reload spot for SLV. But it is this relative weakness in Intel as the market reaches a little bit of an apex. Not much, but a little bit of one. Just looking at the overnight highs on the NQ, that's where we're tagging right now and starting a bit of a dip. If we lose the volume weighted average price, I'd rather short a weak stock than a strong one. So that's going to be the plan of action. And Intel, for reasons unknown to me, is one of the weakest stocks out there this morning. Not really seeing anything that's tech related that is seemingly worthy of a short. Everything seems pretty strong.
Yeah, I would think that seems right.
But if you look at like FedEx, we were talking about how strong FedEx
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
That's like straight down off the open. So the rotation does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were saying, that today it looks like the Nasdaq has the strength as ES and Nasdaq both hovering around the same 0.23, even 0.17. So here's the Nasdaq is actually down lower than the S&P 5, down more than the S&P 500. But just wait, I still feel like I want to go short the Nasdaq, but.
Oh, him?
Okay, so here we go, man. This is new updates for March. So, you know, last week we checked it was 16 or 17% chance of a rate cut. It looks like it's getting upped just a little bit here as we get ready for new Fed chair to take effect in May. So May, June, and that's where we saw that maybe June would be the first chance, a real chance of that rate cut. So we're going to wait to see if that winds up happening. Of course, 350 to 375, the current overnight lending rate. So it doesn't look like that will happen in March. Doesn't look like it will happen in April, although we have a third chance by April to get that. And then it looks like 50% of this poll, or I guess this is a Wall Street poll, 50% right now, figuring the future funds rate there to be 325. So getting that quarter point cut by June the 17th. So that should be interesting to see if that winds up kicking out there. So we have to watch different names. You know, like we said, some of the names that could be interest rate sensitive, some of the mega cap names there, looking at the US dollar, but then the IWM had a very, very violent move over the last couple of weeks. There were some days where this thing was up 3% and then days where it was down, and like just back and forth here on the IWM, like aggressive move right into the 50 and then bounced again, like it was up 2 or 3% there on Friday, upside again into 265. So we'll see if they're going to take out some of those.
The Russell over the last calendar year beating
probably
the S&P 500.
Yeah. Most things are beating the S&P 500, over the last year, including gold, silver, and all of that.
Stock Ed in the chat is asking about Oracle. Someone said Oracle's up 15%. It's up 8%. I don't know where the 15% is coming from. And maybe it's because it's at 150. I don't know. It's up 8%, but there was an upgrade for Oracle. So the only, I believe that was the only catalyst that we saw. We did the rundown. Adara? Thank you. So Adara just confirming price target raise and an upgrade. Price target. Well, they held it to 180, which is obviously higher from here. So yeah, 8%. But it's a relief rally, I think, is going to be the story. Like if you're getting tech names that were beaten up, catching a bit of a bid, I mean, none more, I guess, needing of one than Oracle, right? So if we're getting this secondary play, then it's got to be Oracle here. So there was an upgrade. They maintained their price target at 180. That's what Adara was trying to get to us. It was about 5 minutes, and then she'll be back for happening out. By the way, as we were talking about names that are strong, have a quick look at Nvidia starting to show a little bit of a pullback here in NVDA. So if we got led here from Nvidia, I would think if you pull back into VWAP, your secondary bounce is going to want to hold the volume weighted average price. If you happen to be long something that you think is related to tech and is going to move with tech, then keep an eye on Nvidia. It was leading the charge for most of the time here. Silver is really teetering on this trend line. It's just threatening every single time that it wants to break. Intel doesn't even care at this point, continues to go higher. But HIMS, well, I wish I could give you good news about HIMS. The good news is it's not at the low of the day, but it's just lost VWAP. I'm going to look at this here. So it was trending down going into the open, makes this lower high. If it doesn't break above now the form trend line, that's going to be the short level for me on HMS. So instead of 18.5, well, it never went up there. So now I'm looking at 17.5 as HIMS continues to get the Novo knockoff dump off.
I like that. Okay, so we'll have to watch out for that. I'm going to watch out for NVIDIA. It's funny you just mentioned it because if we do pull back a little bit here, I'm going to watch out for this 190 area. Look to get a little bit of love into there, and then just try to sort of play off this 189.50 or so area if we do get a dump in Nvidia. So I know that it's a relatively strong name, needless to say, up 3%, but we do want to play a little bit of a pullback if that does exist here for Nvidia. We'll try that one as a long if that does come back up to the upside. Just looking for some other names. You know, the PanW and sort of the cybersecurity space has really been clobbered, you know, since this sort of SaaS and everybody worried about software and where do we go from here. I think it's wrongfully beat up some of this sector. So, you know, looking to pick some CrowdStrike, looking to pick something up here on Palo Alto, just falling right into your lap down here at 157. Like I remember Sharif was telling me like, oh boy, here we go through 200. And that stopped real quick, man, up here 220. So this was just at 220 back in November, you know, so this is at 160. Well beat up right now is Palo Alto to the downside, as well as CrowdStrike. I think, you know, again, like in this world of uncertainty, and we're getting more and more technical, and we talked about, you know, sort of how important just looking at streaming and looking at protecting. We talked about Starlink and you know, where people are streaming from, and just sort of the protection of these data centers and making sure that nobody's, you know, hacking into any of these products. I just, you know, CrowdStrike, Fortinet, PanW, you know, getting into the cyber, SIPR.
The only issues, I think Fortinet had some issues. They didn't have the best quarter relative to the others.
No. Yeah,
they'd give me a little pause, but I'm 100% with you. I just know they reported last week, and it was.
Yeah, these are all going to be, you know, pick your poison, which is why I sort of went right over to the cyber ETF here. If you are interested, CIBR gets you involved. And you can double check the weightings on all of these. I'm pretty sure it's very heavily Zscaler and Palo Alto and all these names in the right space right now for you. So you know, this would be a good buy for me, man. Like $80 down to 67. If you're just kind of say, you know what, I like the space, but I'm not sure of the specific name. Why not try to take out some CIBR, cyber? And then Rivian, only because I was looking at Tesla, so I wanted to see. Tesla's not giving me the vibes right now for a trade, but Rivian down 3%, just bouncing, and this is what I noticed right here, off the 200 period moving average. So 1430, maybe a look there for Rivian. I keep on not getting this bid here at 01s, so I'm just going to put a bid at 05 and take it instead of 01 here on SoFi as it just keeps bouncing around. I was waiting for O's. There we go. We'll get 5s as it runs us over, so no big deal here. If this loses 2080, though, we want to stop out. A little bit of a buy coming for me again if we do make our downside here into 2080. 2090 or so. Let's make that our buy and then our stop out there. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go to Adair, I just want to quickly show something I didn't. This was in my prep. The blue ocean overnight for SLV, if you look at, there was a chop zone right in here about 74.2 to 74.4. So when I was referencing 74.5, obviously, you know, like the market never sleeps. So you want to be able to look at key price levels everywhere that they might lie. So as you get in, and some of these dark pool wicks will reflect that, by the way. So you'll see the dark pool wicks represent those highs, but it's breaking trend right in that top. So if you see me jump out, it's not a random level that silver's at. It was at an overnight congestion level. And if it's breaking trend here, then I'm going to jump out of it very quickly. So there's the trail out, and I wait for the volume weighted average price to get back in. As we will, we have a super chat, but we'll get to that in just a quick second.
Yeah, but actually, before we go over to Adara, we have to tell you about PDS Biotechnology under the Nasdaq, symbol PDSB. They're transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer with initial focus on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancer. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the United States in just a few years. Please go over and learn more at pdsbiotech.com. All right, we'll go over to Adara, then we'll address the super chats. Keep them coming there in the chat, and we'll get to the most recent one right after this.
Here's the market, S&P 500 coming back into this pre-market level from Wednesday of last week. Again, this level is going to be around that 692, kind of butting our heads up against it, but unable to break above this level as of right now for the SPY. No economic data coming out here at 9:45 or 10 a.m. or we would have had it. But it is worth noting 11 a.m. we're going to get the New York Fed one-year inflation expectations. This number kind of tends to be a nothing burger, but if there is any kind of move in the market, I'll let you guys know what transpired. Later in the day, we are going to have Fed speak, and that's certainly going to be on watch. Fed's Waller at 1:30, followed by Fed's Myron at 2:30, Fed's Bostic at 3:15, and Fed's Myron again at 5. Now, as I've mentioned a couple times now, Bostic and Myron are kind of out of the picture in terms of Fed meetings because neither are going to be at the next meeting, with Myron's term already done and Bostic's ending by his choice at the end of February. But commentary, interesting and market moving nonetheless. Let's talk about ORCL. Oracle having a great day today with a kind of backhanded upgrade from D.A. Davidson. They upgraded the stock to a buy, but they did not move their $180 price target, and they said that there are still a lot of concerns when it comes to Oracle's debt practices. KR having a really nice push to the upside. This company has been without a CEO for almost 1 calendar year, but now appointing Greg Foran, former Walmart U.S., so not all of Walmart U.S. specifically CEO. He's now going to be the new CEO of KR, effective immediately. Monday.com, this is our first major earnings report of the week that we got CLF, Cleveland Cliffs, this morning as well. Monday.com posting an EPS and sales beat, though its guidance for Q1 and fiscal 2026 sales going to be a little bit below estimate. So make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the content you're seeing. And again, for some of these bigger earnings, specifically Tuesday and Thursday after the bell, we are going to have recap shows right here to cover those at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go back over to Sean and Neil.
That's right. Don't forget, we are also here, not just when the markets are open, but also when we have major earnings after the bell. We will always cover them for you because that's how we roll here at Trader TV Live. We also roll with letting you know what's going on in the broad market. You're getting a pretty good bounce back into, it's just the overnight highs, but also the Nasdaq trying to go green, which the ES is just a fraction closer to going green than the Nasdaq. It's like a couple of 0.03 versus 0.01 most of the times. Last time I looked at it here. I am into HIMS on trend. I'm trying to reload at VWAP. There's a buyer. Okay, so there's a buyer at 16.75, like 16.75. Don't even know why I say it there. So I might jump out of this. I have a bad price. I'm way too far from this VWAP in here, which I should be able to get on that trend if we catch a bounce. And as I said, I jumped out of silver, which broke the trend, waiting for it to retest VWAP. We liked silver long into the prior day, into Friday's highs, not resistance. We're not going to get that. So when it broke the trend, that's just to jump out of the long and look for the next opportunity. I'm thinking back at VWAP at our original entry price here for SLV. Intel's already at 50. Well, that didn't take very long.
Oh, did it already retrace?
So
back?
Intel 50 to 47.5 to 50 in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Light work for Intel, apparently. Nick W., there's a super chat. I almost forgot that we had to get to that one. Well, it's actually addressed to you. Sean, you've traded, so they say they traded A-Lab at this level, 183.5. Long-term resistance seems like a good short. Insider selling.
Oh, someone also had a question about, and I meant to get to it and did not. By the way, yeah, let's go, man. It's a hot dog, kind of a cannon right here as we reloaded on SoFi and just bang that out as our #1 trade idea. We're sticking with it. So shout out to Trader on the chat. They're telling me to always make sure we look at the sticky note. You guys wanted to know the short float on HIMS and hers, 39% on HIMS. So that was a question that came earlier. It was not a super chat, but it was directed at one of us, but it was anyways asking about it. I know we didn't get to it. So HIMS was 39% short float on our, the Benzinga platform. So you double check it. Generally that's, within a 5-10% or so. So if it's 39, it could be 45, it could be 30. But anyways, HIMS definitely a high short float there. Look, when we talk about A-Lab and Astera Labs, I mean, we do know that this is another name that goes and, goes with the ebbs and flow of this space, right? I mean, this is Astera Labs right here, as we're going to look at it on Benzinga. And I just want to bring this up to you because tomorrow's report is at 4:30, right? Market cap of only 30 billion. It's not huge. Does have a PE, so they are making a little bit of money. Revenue growth, obviously, we like to see that 240% space or number there. But this is good. This makes a lot of sense. Delivers semiconductors, solutions for cloud and AI infrastructure there. So this is what we talk about. As it goes with the market, you're going to have to be careful with a name like Astera because it's not as, here it is right here, not as developed as the rest, but Still breaking out, had a great opportunity to dip by those down in here into 140. And we always say it's kind of like Nvidia. Nvidia came into that 170 area and really found some support. So this looks like a real legitimate spot. 140 looks like a good take. If you're asking me what do I think about the name ahead of earnings, I would say you've matured up quite nicely. You're up $40, $50 in 2 days. So I would say do not hold this one into earnings, your whole part. If you think it's going to blow upside, which it could, watch out for that. But we've seen some good earnings reports come through and the market's gotten hit to the downside. So I would say take a little bit off here. Just like you're at support there, you're probably at resistance right now. So good look here. ALAB, Astera Labs, taking out levels. I think you got yourself a good one right there. There is no doubt about that. And we've got a good one right here as well. So it's going to be bull riding right now on SoFi as that just dip buys it right into our level. And I'm glad we took that 05 because we were waiting for 01s and we didn't get our full reload spot, but we did get enough. So let's take a little bit out there. And again, not super confident that this is actually going to rip to the high heavens here. But look at the market. The Nasdaq just turned green. The ES just turned green. So right now we're finally starting to get some of those feels that, hey man, this should be a decent long day. I mean, we've seen the Nasdaq really retrace back. We've seen the ES have like 3 or 4% turnaround days. Maybe today's one of those days. Starting off nice on a Monday, it's always nice to see that. So it's nice to see that as we see there, tech is back in favor. So we're going to wait to see what happens here with SoFi, hoping that it gets going, breaking through the 200 period moving average. But I'm just in scalp mode now for this. Like if we can get another piece there, fine. And then we'll let the rest ride. Now I've got a decent position on at what I think is a decent price. So let's see if SoFi can, mature up into a level that will allow us to take a decent profit. So, 2130s right there, I think is a spot for my next out.
And look at as you say, with the market breaking out, I know we looked at Nvidia and Intel, and we have not had a look at AMD. You shouldn't be that surprised to see AMD up 3% with Nvidia doing this, but it looks like it just took the reins. Nvidia pulls back, AMD breaks out. Intel doesn't have.
But Nvidia pull back.
I don't. This is a chart I've never seen. Well, I shouldn't say never. I can't remember the last time I saw something like this at the open. It was just insane. $2.50 downside here on Intel, all red, and then all green back into the upside. So I almost feel like put in a red candle, just take a shot, hopefully like a nice consolidative candle, take a shot at that short trade. But I did reload on HIMS and I did try to reload on HIMS and it didn't push back up into the trend line. So this is still working downside. Obviously, this stock is not going to have to follow the market. They're going to do their own thing. And the flip side of this story, of course, would be Novo, which is gapped up, but doing absolutely nothing. So HIM's moving a little bit more than Novo. You'd think Novo might be breaking out with the market strength and obviously the positive headline here, but not so much. It's a weird one to me that Novo doesn't really continue when they get good news. Makes you a little bit wary because this should be a good headline for them that the HIM's knockoff pill got pulled back, but the legal battle not over yet, unfortunately. For either of these names. Volatility is good, but I think if you're long those stocks, you'd like to see a resolution to this promptly. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I'll wait for a red candle on Intel. If it at least gives me some kind of a sign that this is a top, I just look for the scalp trade into VWAP. Like enter, give to the prior high, because this is a beast. It is right at that 50 level. That's the other thing. We do like the Intel over under at 50. If it was at 50 and a half or closer to 51, I'd probably wait for that 51 test.
Right, just setting up some bids in case the market comes back in. I mean, I still want to buy some Nvidia on any weakness. I want to buy some TQQs on any weakness. Even though we started our day short, we were actually able to take out some profit on this one and then just putting ourselves just basically slightly negative on the name because it did rip back up and took out that 50 period, or sorry, that 200 period. So maybe that last reload was not something that we could have done, but on and move down in, we're still green. It's still doing quite well today, actually, on that side, on the P&L side. But that's just because SoFi It's trying to go, but it's not. Nvidia, so it's not been a huge day. If we get any pullbacks into 190, we want to buy that dip. We sort of said that, and then try to protect it with VWAP and the 50-period moving average in and around 189. So that would be a pretty good look if the market does come back in a bit, and then just go. Finally, SoFi is starting to go upside a little bit here. So we're back into like our daily goal being met, but I'm not. SoFi is not doing anything. So Meta, good level for Meta, right? 660. We've seen this bounce around. You're now getting the quarter for free plus more. So if you liked Meta's quarter, you're now getting it for free and a discount on that quarter. So this could be a level here of 660.50 where we see if Meta wants to hold. Like this has come right back in, right here on the daily chart, right into the 50-period moving average. So this was Meta before the number. People were like, oh my God, we missed it. It got all the way to 740, but now you're pulling all the way back down to 660. So you're taking about an $80 haircut. That's little less than what it cost me, considering I have no hair. That seems a little expensive. But 660 right back into there. So that's $80 chopped off for Meta. So maybe get 2-for-1 haircuts next time, because if you buy some Meta now and expect it to go back up, free haircuts for all. But this is, I don't really want to buy any of these kind of names right now, man. I'm looking different. I'm looking energy. I'm looking financials to start buying. I'm not looking Mag 7, but Meta downside today as well. Considering the market's up, interesting to have a look there on Meta. Microsoft up 2.5, right? I'm going to assume Apple's up today as well with the Nasdaq.
Well,
this is maybe wrong.
Make that assumption for
yeah,
Apple.
maybe. No, it's down. So Apple. So today we got Microsoft up, Apple down, Meta down, Google was down the last time we checked it. So this is what a difference some of these Mag 7 names are, right? With Nvidia up 3 or 4% today, exactly. Google down. Microsoft up, Apple down, Meta down. The only other name, I don't want to conclude Tesla in that anymore.
No, I think the problem with Apple, and it's not a problem for Apple, is remember when, like Apple was that one Mag 7 name that was not part of the AI, not part of the AI spend, so they're not seen as part of the AI risk as well. So they were relatively strong when we were getting some of that weakness. Look at the nice bounce almost to the highs that Apple had put in. So I think what you're getting here is if we're rotating. It's weird. It's like Apple and Nvidia have been doing this, it seems like, for a while, where you get a lot of strength in Apple when Nvidia is selling off, and it's this back and forth. Like if you're just picking one Mag 7 against the other. But we're right at a support spot here for Apple. So this is pretty key. Like if we start accelerating through, even in a strong market, that feels a bit much to me. If we break this trend on a 15, it's a good support level on Apple, 273. So if you're looking to pick some up like today, this is at that spot. Like the market's breaking through the highs. So if we're able to hold this bottom, I don't think that correlation or negative correlation holds forever. I did get Intel. I said if it puts in a red on the 3-minute, on a 3-minute chart, we jump in. Didn't like the chase. I'd rather get some in the body. So I am sitting at 49, just in the 90s in here. That's where I'll add so I get my price into the 80s. That way the risk is about 25 cents, which is what I like to risk on Intel here. So looking for the VWAP retracement if we can get it. HIMS is still trending down. Tried to get this reload in front of the trend line. Didn't quite fill it, but if we get it, we're just waiting for this trend. If it breaks, I'd get out. I'm not thinking about reversing into it, but looking for the short to go into low of the day. So yeah, ultimately, the market's breaking out, and I think a lot of these beaten up names, and it's not just big caps, are catching great bids here. I see in the chat ONDS. Hey, good for them. That one's headed to the upside. That got, like a lot of things got beat down. This almost got cut in half from the high. Very close to it, like 15 down to about $8 here for ONDS. And this is now a couple of blast off days in a row. Oh, I never like seeing this. I always have to slap a fail on myself because I pull up the ONDS chart, and the second I pulled it up, I then remembered the 980 level last week. Resistance, resistance, resistance. But yeah, did I take the breakout trade? No. And look at it go. So ONDS up 10%, breaking out a pretty clear resistance line. But you know what? You got to look at the stock. Like sometimes it's not on my iPad, and that's the names I go over, all the ones on the iPad on the watch list. So that's on me for not adding to the iPad. Good luck on anyone that's on this one or some of these other beaten up small to mid cap names that are catching bids.
Yeah, good look there. That's why we want to keep notes, keep your iPads, keep your sticky notes, keep all your notes together, because you never know what name you're going to look at here. I was actually thinking about Google. Like, this market is really, it's funny because we're long SoFi. It's not doing anything today with this market sort of blasting higher. So that's going to be a wrong look at any potential longs there for SoFi. So we're just going to wait and be patient on that one. But, a name that I was looking at here too was going to be Google. I mean, Google looks like it just wants to hang out at the top side. This is almost thinking, it's giving me feels for a short, but I don't necessarily want it yet. If you guys are into Google, it's like, look at this market. We've seen Google really take off on good days when it wants to, and just today it doesn't look like it wants to. So I'd be very, very cautious here of Google at these levels, but 323 could look back and it's just blasting higher because it's just needed a minute to go. But I would think about this short against this 323.50 area for Google. It just doesn't look like it wants to go to the upside. So I am debating potentially looking short here against that level. So let's just make sure that that's going to be right, because the TQs came right in to 50 bucks, right where we said let's smacky, and we did that, and it does go to the downside right away, but then it got going upside right now. So if we're going to look to short anything in the Nasdaq, pick weak names, because it looks like this one has a little bit of room to go higher here. This is that 51 mark, so we'll wait to see if it does take this level out. But the next level is up here into 52, 52.50, and we continue to get going here on the Nasdaq. So I'm going to be a little careful on what we decide to do here, but looks like it's trying to go higher on the TQs and maybe potentially a little bit lower here on Google. So it's not moving around yet, but this is not a horrible short if you can get something in and around this 323.20 area or so using this high. So if this can bump up, I don't necessarily hate what I'm seeing here for Google on that kind of a look. And then the other name I didn't get a chance to look at was Tesla, when we sort of did through that big mega cap look at what the tech space is doing. And Tesla, much more appreciating more than the Nasdaq today, up 0.7. So this is 3-1. This looks like a decent long break actually right here into Friday's past resistance levels. So that's looking like a decent break high. Yeah, 414.50 for Tesla. Why not, man? Maybe we get a little bit of running going on there for TSLA. This could be a nice break, man. 414.50. Why don't we maybe look at taking that, especially if this market wants to keep going? That's not a horrible look here for Tesla, looking to break long on TSLA. So if you're in that one, giddy up. Another piece for me out. Let's take 5% at 18s if we can get that. We got a little piece, but then it bounced off the rest. We're using like dark pools or so to get out, or sitting on BAT Y or something that gives you the fill a little bit quicker than the rest of them. So we'll watch out for SoFi. There it goes, finally breaking some 18s and giving us that fill as we get that into the back end for SoFi. But yeah, maybe that was a long break there on Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla's starting to look good. So I finally got into the ZSL. And I sort of waited for it to make a move off this consolidation. I know it broke the trend line a while ago, but it did this the other day, and the other day meaning Friday. Like, it broke the trend. I was in the long almost instantly. This time I actually wait for it to break this little consolidation to put in. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough. So I'm giving it about 5 pennies into the low here, which is at that 232 level. But HIMS actually blasting up. So, by the way, Intel's coming back in, but I'll get to HIMS first because it just broke the trend. I'm not going reverse on HIMS. It was a play off the volume weighted average price, looking for an absolute flush into the lows. You see, wasn't even really scalping it. That's either a flush or not. Like, I want low of the day kind of nonsense. Because when you're looking at a stock like this, I feel like it's either going to fall all over itself or it's going to be a nothing burger. Intel, that reversion starting to come back, but I'm looking for the volume weighted average price. I've only taken a third out. Next stop will be at the 49.5, and then the volume weighted average price for INTC. And as I said, ZSL reversal play on that silver with the trend break. It is 10:20. We've talked about a few small cappers, not many. Time to get a few more names on that list with Adara.
First one of these is one I know we talked about last week. Couldn't find any news on this, nor could I find much information on the company, but CCH Holdings, CCHH, on the move once again. This stock is near intraday highs, but fair warning, it is a penny stock, just coming into that $1 level now. CCHH has roughly a $19 million market cap. Smaller market cap here for UOKA. That is MDJM Limited. This company was actually featured on our watch list this morning. No news on this one either. $3 million market cap, but a notably small float, around 650,000 shares. Roughly 4% of those shares will be sold short. This last small cap actually does have a catalyst. That's RITR Logitech signing a strategic cooperation framework agreement with Optimized Integration Group. So deal signing here for RITR. So again, RITR, CCHH, and UOKA are our small caps for the day. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content as we send you over to Sean and Neil.
Thank you, Adira. Yeah, so Neil's in ZSL, but I know there's some talk about silver. I just, you know, for me, I'd written down silver down. That's too bad because I'd written down at between 70 to 71. And it does dip down there, you know, in the pre-market. Doesn't really give me any reason to buy it down there other than the 200 period, which is kind of what we were trying to do. So I'll let Neil discuss his ZSL. I know he's already done that. But for me, it's like VWAP right into there, something like that. So we need a move lower in order to get it. But the long ZSL would be a short in silver. So you're up to some of these levels. So for me, I'm going to look long, but I'm going to be patient, wait for 73. If that comes in, yippee-ki-yay. But if not, then I think we got to wait a little bit for me on that. And you are welcome. So there's a nice little chat there. There's someone in the chat there. What's up, Bartan here? We'll send that through and talk about it. And let me just call up Tesla right here to have a quick little look to see what you're talking about. Thanks for the Tesla call. Bumped over 1K for the day. Nice trade there. Take my computer away from me. Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, do it. I mean, that's what I try to say, and that's why I try to say to you guys, like, you know, if 1K is your goal there, sometimes there are trades that, you know, you can hit it in one trade. Sometimes it takes a minute to get to that, but I do really like that strategy. That if you've, you know, the longer you sit at your keys, it's great for learning and training. But once you see something, it is, you know, great idea to hit it and sort of quit it. So what's up to Bart J. Natoli? Congratulations on that one. It looks like you've got the money storm going on your Tesla trade. And yeah, good for you guys, man. I mean, look, no matter what Neil and I look at or say, I mean, we got to give a big congratulations to you guys. I mean, you guys are the ones obviously sitting there hitting the keys and, you know, taking that profit and knowing when to exit your trade too. You know, often it's not just getting in, that's part of it. It's also, you know, looking to see when you get out. So it looks like you were able to do well there, you know, making that $1,000. So yeah, take a vacation, go to my house and shovel or whatever you want to do. But it's well worth a vacation today, I think.
Any
on a Monday, man.
Any steel that's still on the ground is like frozen.
It's too frozen.
It's
now.
like ice.
And that's why Bart can go shovel it. I mean, he can try to shovel it.
Yeah, it's intense. When you get that little lip that freezes at the bottom, it's like, yeah, well, I'm just living with it for the next couple of days. That's just par for the course.
Watch out now.
No, but shout out to a lot of names in the chat. I just want to remind everybody, use the $ in front of any tickers that you put into the chat. It just sort of helps us keep track here. Obviously, we've talked about as many names as we can, but I do see a couple every now, like AMD just got put in there and no $ in front. Nvidia, Oracle, Palantir, we haven't talked about. ONDS, we did. It's Palantir, and then NCBE as well. Bloom Energy, big earnings breakout last week, but it is Palantir. I saw someone say, don't short CARP. And I'm assuming that was a reference to Palantir. If it was not, then I have no idea what you're getting at. But certainly Palantir up 4% with the market going higher. This chart looks exactly like ONDS, which is weird, but not really, because lots of stocks have this head and shoulders and potential breakout. So this level here going Wednesday and Thursday was about $140. I think a pullback into that. You need to hold the 140 on a 15-minute chart. That's one, because I missed ONDS. If we do dip back into 140, I have my eyeballs on it. Intel's still holding the lower high, but it's not doing what it did at the open, which was ridiculous down and then ridiculous up. Like, this is now consolidating up here. So I don't have to, but I do want to respect the strength. If I see it catch a bid at 60 instead of 50 again, then I'm just going to get some out at that 60 level instead. But yeah, super strong day for the market, and obviously Palantir's part of that. Someone just asked, what about Nvidia? It's been hanging out above 190, led the way early. It's just into this chop zone on the daily that we've been in for, I mean, quite some time, really. Like, it just hasn't been able, the buyers haven't been able to have any control up here above $190. Come on, 15-minute chart. obviously Nvidia has traded before the 29th there, it'll load up. But you can see all the consolidation and chop it's had above the 190 level. Just has trouble punching through the top, unfortunately. Doesn't mean it can't, though.
All right, we have a new trade alert. It's already 30 cents in the money. We mentioned, potentially getting some Google down there. So let's just do that, man. There's 40 cents. So it sucks to go bearish on one name and bullish on the other. So we are going to have to watch out here for SoFi. It just hasn't gone. So we'll wait. I'm actually going to now cancel. Actually, I don't even have a bid at O's anymore. We actually got that bid right there. So we're going to wait for lower into the 90s. If SoFi wants to go, fine. But here it is, man. It is a brand new position. That's why we hit the alert. It's an idea that we'd given a little while ago. So now let's go over and see what Google wants to do here today. Falling, 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 all the way down. Here comes Google, almost a dollar club right now. We're bidding right here at 322.20. See if we can get it. Nice little take to the downside. I'm going to actually start to get out a little bit more of SoFi now, even though we just lost. I'm going to take a flat fill here at 08, get another piece out there on SoFi because the market's coming in quite nicely, and we're just obviously banking out right now as we turn a little bearish. I'll take another, let me take some pieces here at 50, okay. So we'll take another piece out on our bid here of Google at 50, waiting to see if this name wants to fall back in. Here we go again, man. It's a new position. It's a short on Google. We had talked, let's go. Let's go. There it is. It's a dollar club right there, as quick as you like on that move. There goes Google right back into the downside. So, hey, we can sit around and scalp out pennies, just showing you guys, what's good here with different names. I mean, sometimes, you get sort of that feel for one thing, and we talked about Google. If it was, I hope you guys are on this shore with me, but we talked about it being a little weaker than the market and had a nice high there, so it came in. So now we are $1 plus now in the money on the south side here for Google, and that's still going through. So yeah, SoFi, man, we sort of sniffed that one out. We have less than half of our position, but I still would like to look at a 2090 or so area right there. There it is, man. Google absolutely falling all over itself. So this is going to be a big trade here. And yeah, $1.20 now in the money. Down goes Google pretty aggressively here to the downside.
Yeah, it's the same thing happening over here. Obviously, 50 versus $325 stock. Like Intel is 1/6 of the price of Google, so it moves $1. It's like you're talking 15, 20 cents here in Intel. Does exactly the same thing, but now I can look for a reload. And the only reason I say that is you have a lower high to work off of. So if I trend in, I'm always gonna trend out. So inside the range, if I can get the top again here just underneath 50, we're gonna reload this, work for that bottom, and over to, if the market's coming back in, time to watch out for Palantir to see if it's gonna hold on to this volume weighted average price. So Palantir, it's about the 140 level, and then VWAP is right here at 139 and a third. So super strong most of the morning. Can we continue to put in these higher lows is going to be the question. The other thing to watch for PLTR is it has broken trend line, which usually means I want to wait for the volume weighted average price. So I'm going to reload on Intel in a second. I just saw in the chat, apparently UUU is halted, but this is not UUUU, which most of you are probably familiar with. UUU has done 150,000 shares. Do not mix this up with Energy Fuels Inc., which is an extra U and does 3 million shares worth of volume. So very, very different names. One has almost no liquidity and happens to be halted. UUUU, strong day for them, but up 3 million, or they're done 3 million in volume. This is an actual tradable stock. The other's not really. Sometimes you will get these randos kind of catching a sympathy play. I don't know if that's the case, but just watch out for it.
Yeah, so we did our own thing here, man. We did, like we said, we did cover a little bit of Google down there at O's, so let's let that see if it matures back up. Fine on me if that winds up happening. All right, quick little look at the broader market one more time here. As we've taken a minute to do that, we'll have what's for lunch in about 20 minutes. Wow, this day's going by quite nicely and quickly. Apple catching a little bit of a bid now, but only down 1.79, but not great. Microsoft catching that bid today. We talked about that. In the retail space, we didn't look too much at this, but we had seen Costco and Walmart starting to make some new moves higher over the last couple weeks, so that's been nice to see. Target as well. Home Depot, I still really like that name, and I think that will continue to work, even though they didn't have the greatest report there, Walmart. We had that Kroger story there and a new CEO today, so there you go. That's TJX, sorry, there's Target right there, 0.41, and Kroger 0.6. So we wait for some of the retail names to come through in the upcoming weeks, all right? Financials today. maybe we'll have to have a better look at these as well. By the way, Google's not only 50 cents in the money, nicely coming back into some of those high side trades there. JP Morgan, Bank of America. Let's go have a quick look at Robinhood. I saw Robinhood in there 4% today, so off nicely trading now. I mean, you see crypto, we just point to it down there on that downside for Bitcoin, but actually holding out okay.
It's weak now. It's back under VWAP.
It's back under VWAP right now, barely. So we'll wait. Hopefully it makes a turnaround move higher for those of you that are looking for that long. We did like a Coinbase short today if crypto ever failed, but right now it's not really doing that. I still really like a break of 162, like take this out and go short. I like the Coinbase short, but obviously it needs to dance properly here. So that would be another trade. And then I said we look at Robinhood just to see what that has, those feels are here on Robinhood. And yeah, today it's nicely back up to the upside, man. I don't know if you would have been able to pick that 70 as a bottom, but that is what it was. 72 bucks right into there. That high of 65 or so was something to look at, maybe still is. So something to consider down to there. And then, 50 is too low. But yeah, Robinhood almost was chopped in half. Now starting to get back up to the upside, hoping for the same kind of feels for SoFi. That just came in into $21 again. It looks like it wanted to hold. So maybe you know what, let's just buy a little bit more than at 04, see if we're able to do that. And there's Google right back to the upside. So we only got out of half down there on Google as it comes back up. Watch out for this break of 323.60. So it goes top of the day all the way back into the 50, doesn't get to the 200, which we were waiting for. That would have been like a $2 winner. So we'll wait. If it does give us a little bit more short, we'll average back, we'll average a little bit into this and then just give it to the top, right? If it breaks now the top, we can get out 323.60. So we'll give Google a little bit of love here, give SoFi some room as well. So just one short, one long, and not really going too much else right now. Nasdaq kind of just hovering, man. Just give us a great dip buy opportunity there. Maybe we should look at the Nasdaq dip buy.
It is slightly trending here, but here comes Bitcoin. So it came back into the trend line. So I said someone in the chat, like, look at Bitcoin, and my response was, I'm waiting for it to try to break the trend. But in either direction, it was a downtrend, it broke up. I'm not going short unless it breaks these higher lows. I was in the short to this low and then reloaded at the pre-market high. It broke it out. It never got to my 40 level. I wrote down 40 as a level I liked. So outside of that, I'm looking at VWAP and trends. So we hold this line, then we're looking push back into the higher, maybe even to that 40. And if we close under and break this trend line down, this is a reversal for me in IBIT. I was originally looking, obviously, for the short. Intel came back in for a reload. I was able to get the reload on Intel into this prior high. If we take it out, I jump out, but we're still looking for the VWAP retrace here on INTC as it's almost green. Like, this is a crazy move for Intel. I know it's a crazy move in terms of percentage that it went down 5-6 points and then came right back up, but it's just last week's range, which has been 50 to 47 the entirety of the week. So this is a relatively volatile, well, more volatile than it used to be is the best way to put it here on Intel. We're trying to get this one into the downside for sure. Gold apparently broke out, but that also means that SLV, we were originally long. Now remember, ZSL long is a short, right? So I was long SLV initially, reversed into the short. We'll still be slightly up, one on one, lost on the other, but it was just the trend break, which I've been taking pretty much every single day. But they're not, it worked 6 days in a row, and then the last 2 haven't. So I'll probably back away from this until these trend breaks down, when it breaks the downtrend, start to work. But the second it breaks underneath, I'll give it like 1 cent underneath. But it's a trend break, clean. I already know where my stop goes in the second I get into position. But it's a couple of days in a row where this hasn't worked after working 6 days pretty clean. So I'm not going to jump over and just automatically say I'm going to go long into silver again. That was a pretty specific setup. It never got back to the volume weighted average price. It has to show me a reason to get in. So IBIT long, Intel still in that short, obviously. And we're still tracking Palantir. Well, at least I'm still tracking Palantir. Hasn't really gotten into the volume weighted average price yet, but still up 4%, still looking strong with the market.
Okay, good. Nice to see Palantir up. Oh boy. You know, people asking you what's up to Iltech Surgeon and a few of you else, Sunisai Patel, wanting to have just a little wee look at Amazon. So let's have a quick look at Amazon and have a go at this. By the way, SoFi. Let's go SoFi. Yes. Good dip buy opportunity there on SoFi. We executed it. We took some out here at 11s. We'll see if we can get a little bit higher into 15 and take some out. And we'll worry about our Google trade if and when it gets up to those levels. So for Google. But here we go. All right. So just looking out now at Amazon. So yeah, look, it's still down that 1%. So I got to favor the short here. But we really did well at 206. This kind of reminds me of that Google level that we saw last week at 316, where it made a move down and then it sort of leveled off and then started to rip basically all afternoon and closed at its highs and even took out some of those levels. So I would just be very, very careful here with an Amazon. And the only reason I say that is it's obviously on day 2 or day 3 of earnings. So what was really beat up there could make that move higher. And then now we're starting to see Google feel a little bit weak against earnings. It might take a couple days for that to sort of settle out as we have that huge Capex number for Amazon. But if you are trading it, I mean, you're right into that 200 period moving average. So I can't say there's anything wrong with this little look right there on Amazon. Trying to think about a short into pre-market lows. So that's a good level there. If you're gonna go short 208, just get out maybe at 209 by when, as I look at that right now for a potential play. But this 200 period bouncing off there, that's kind of the look. But back into 200, those look like great longs. I had a buy of Amazon at 200 there on Friday, and then I sort of was thinking about it, let's let the tech trade sort of settle down a little bit. We did have a monster move on Friday in the broader market. The Nasdaq was up over 2%, and Amazon didn't really get going. So not in love with this name down here at these low ends. And again, with this major Capex spend, I really do think that, the belle of the ball will continue to most likely be Nvidia. So ahead of when their report is, and we always say it's like later on this month, but I actually hadn't looked up exactly. Let me have a look at here, Nvidia. So this is what they're looking like right now. Current PE in the 40s, I believe. Yeah, for Nvidia. So current PE 45, forward PE 24. If we're gonna look to see when they report, we're gonna go over here to calendar and we'll see its next confirmed date is right here, the 25th. So near the end of the month there, February the 25th for NVDA. So for me, that would be the stock to look for, the date to look for Nvidia. But I would say, as far as Amazon is concerned, I would rather take an Nvidia long or even a AMD long, considering how much AMD's been beat up after their report as well. So.
Well, the other thing about Amazon to consider is everyone's looking at Microsoft as a value and Google is better. So if Alphabet's doing better in cloud and Microsoft is looking like a dip buy, that just leaves money, like where's the money gonna go into? Into Amazon. I always look at it that way. It's like a competition thing, ultimately. And Control-Alt-Escape.
Yeah.
Still, I guess I don't know Windows well enough to know what that actually does. Control-Alt-Escape. Thank you for the super chat. 2 weeks ago, I told you told me you love JPM. I said I like JPM at 300, but I said I liked the financials on the dip. I said JPM at 300 looked really good, but I also absolutely love Morgan Stanley, the one that I own as well. Today you sold the remaining of your swing position. Congrats. You're still going to hold in your long-term account. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for tuning in, Control-Alt-Escape. And it is... Apparently it's a great name. I think it's a great name as well. And I'm not just gonna, someone just said, try it, Neil. No, I'm not gonna just go Control-Alt-Escape in the middle of nowhere when I don't know what that does. Although as long as it's not sticky keys, it can't be all that bad. That's the worst. I have no idea, nothing against you, Windows. Why is sticky keys being active a thing? Like if I want it, let me turn it on. Like why does it have to be a default? Because like, that always comes in, you gotta remember to turn it off. Anyways, it's just a pain in the butt. Just very quickly, and Joe Schmo, I get it, there's enough money to go into all three of those names. I just think sometimes you will get relative strength and weakness within the group, and so you can get, right now, let's just say Google's favored because of their better earnings and a better trend. And then anyone looking for the dip buy on weakness has the option of Microsoft over Amazon. So I'm not saying people won't dip buy into Amazon either. I just wonder if there's not as much interest when you have an alternative. But again, that's just conjecture. Let's go see what other sectors are strong, because I'd like to know how RNG is doing. We just talked about the banks and JPM. Let's find out specifically with Adara.
Finance is kind of mixed here, Neil. I mean, JPM, Goldman Sachs, both up more than 1%, along with Citigroup and Schwab. But we also have MasterCard and Berkshire, as well as Visa to the downside. So kind of a mixed performance if you're looking at the sector as a whole. Health tech really weak here. Merck down 2.5%. I could not find a story. J&J and Amgen lightly red as well, though Eli Lilly pretty flat on the day. Consumer non-durables weak. Consumer services weak with booking holdings down about 4%. Retail trade to the downside as a group. Now let's talk about what's strong here. Producer manufacturing to the upside, led by a 3% move in GEV. Then we've got non-energy minerals. A lot of these gold and copper plays like Newmont and FCX are moving to the upside. Industrial services also strong, and consumer durables trying to be held up by Tesla, though a lot of the other names in the sector are to the downside. Electronic tech and tech services, as they have been lately, continue to be really, really mixed. So in electronic tech, you've got strength in Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD, Cisco, APH, Amphenol, but then if you go to tech services, you've got some strength in Microsoft, Palantir, Oracle up 8% with an upgrade, and AppLovin up a whopping 12% ahead of its earnings report on Wednesday. That being said, across both sectors, you have some weakness, including MU and Apple, as well as Intel to the downside in electronic tech and tech services, Accenture, IBM, and Netflix a little bit weaker. So these tech services continue to kind of be a subsectors moving together rather than the groups as a whole. Back to you.
All right, guys, let's go over and find out who's making all the money here at Real Trading. Of course, we're trading on a prop floor here, so you can go double check what your nets are and compare or not. But this is prop floors, over 2,000 traders here at Real Trading. So these are the top 10 traders, not from today. This is from Friday. So again, you know, this Canada continues to be an absolute monster, up 29,000 there. So someone trading over on the TSX has figured something out, and that's a big day there. TSX and TSX Venture, excuse me. Again, 12,000, 11,500. These are all in US dollars, okay? So Amex and Nasdaq coming through, Nasdaq. And then overnight, I guess last night, because Blue Ocean will be closed there on Fridays. So Blue Ocean, nice trading there, Nasdaq and New York. So that sort of winds up. But we have many different, you know, Milan, someone took 3,500, Australia, 2,500, Turkey, 2,500, the LSE, $2,000. So, you know, lots of different markets, over 60 markets worldwide here over at Real Trading. So you guys can go find out how you're doing there. If you're part of Real Trading, you can go get that in our trader information portal. All right, man, this did go down into the dollar club again there for Google. So we did not reload it up at the top. We had sort of talked about that, which was, I guess, a mistake. But we're going to wait for a little higher to reload. But let's take it back in, man. We'll take out 65s, and we take a bunch here for $1 at the 50-period moving average down there at 25. So now we'll wait. Again, the dollar is just a fun thing that we do. These are all getting out at the 50-period moving averages. So good trade there. I still want to wait for the 200 and then VWAP and then a break lower, and we'll see what's going on over there on that particular setup. And then just looking to see if SoFi gets going. We're taking out some more levels here on SoFi, but again, might not be that huge trade. Like now I'm going to try to wait for some better outs. But for right now, take some outs at 11s, and if we get VWAP, which is only at 15s, then that would be nice. And then up here in the 20s, late 20s, would be the next little bit of a trade there. Oracle just continues to sort of, you know, be a nice one today, bouncing off VWAP, up 8%. Wow, this name continues its extension. I didn't even realize it was 8%. I guess it was almost 10%, or more than 10%
it was.
At one point there. So yeah, good job there for anybody sort of on that train here with Oracle. That just seems to be, you know, moving higher right now for that. And again, an upgrade, and just a note that potentially a little too beat up on the downside, according to that report. Just saying that, you know, now that they're funded, they did a raise last week, and they could see some more upside traction here for ORCL, Oracle. And then
the key was that they were able to raise money.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't seem to have trouble there. So, yeah, good on whoever donated money to Oracle. But right there, Micron as well, getting an upside play over the last couple of weeks, but downside there today. So we'll see if Micron, is this the next one? Like, we've had an upside down move in Oracle. Will the same sort of thing happen to Micron as we worry about now shortages in DRAM or a glut potentially now? Whenever there's not enough of something, the market corrects itself and starts making more of that one thing. So watch out here for Micron. It might have had its move up for now. Let's just see if it can settle down here, potentially back into VWAP. No, not VWAP. Potentially back into the 50-period moving average. 310 or so there. But now we're really starting to cook. We've got SoFi trying to go and Google trying to go. So be patient, man. We're at the highest spot we've been at today, but we're not at the highest spot we were at all day unrealized. My best trade was early. To have cashed out all the way there, we had our goal plus more, but that gave back once it started to blow to the high side. So right now we're just sort of sitting on what's been a good position in SoFi and what's been a good position in Google. Just 3 trades for me today: Google, SoFi, and the Qs. And we'll basically go 2 for 2. I mean, this one will be an in and then an out, so a flat trade. And then SoFi, so far so good. We don't have any outs below our ins, and Google obviously continues to be a good trade here as well. So let's just sit on these. We'll see if it can wind up working. I like the Intel short. I like the Nvidia long.
And by the way, I know you mentioned Micron. There was that negative story on Micron, and they don't report. Basically, the negative stories that were shut out of Nvidia's. Oh, where is it? Let me find it here. Shut out of Nvidia's HBM4 plan as specs are getting tougher for them. It doesn't mean that they're not bouncing, actually getting a little bit of a bounce there. And they don't report. We talk about waiting till Nvidia on the February 25th. Micron doesn't report till mid-March. So we got SNDK, and then we got WDC as well, Western Digital, but unfortunately, we're really waiting on that Micron story. It looks like you're stalling out here. You're stalling out here on IBIT. It can't seem to get that press right into the highs. So we took the trend reversal, but if we lose this consolidation, I'm going to jump out. Just going to move my stop, which means I have to cancel the other one. So if we lose this consolidation, I'm going to get out, maybe look for a retread back into that 39 area. We had to flip. I was bearish on this. I actually liked the short way more than I liked the long, but the long ends up setting up, so we'll take one. And then I just saw someone in the chat saying LIMN Halt band. I don't see it at the bands. We have the bands on our level 2. So like when I pull it up here, oh, there it is. I'm just going to move this over, it'll be faster. Upside 313, downside 208. So it's nowhere near the bands. And if you're here at Real Trading, and if you are, I mean, there's other places that have the Halt bands as well, so congratulations. If your broker added them, they're pretty useful. But it's nowhere near the Halt bands. This is an orderly move to the upside on LIMN. There's no crazy parabolic candles. The biggest candle's like 10 cents on a 3-minute. And you've got to go like 10% in within a 5-minute span. So it could, it's not saying the stock couldn't halt, but it's nowhere close to it in either direction there. And remember, the Halt bands are different based on price. So I think it's between like $1 and $5 is one thing, and then above it'll be different. But it is within a certain time frame. So just because something goes 10, 15, 20% during the day, it doesn't mean it's going to go into one of those halts. So hopefully that helps you. So like I said, I trail out of IBIT, wait for it to retest this bottom at 39, because there's also this potential trend break. There's the low in the pre-market, there's the low at the open, there's the low where we reverse long. That gives me 3 spots on trend. Now if we break under it, I look short on IBIT. So just waiting for the next potential setup there. And yeah, LIMN rolling, actually 43%. I'm assuming Sharif will be all over that one. I don't even know the story there.
I have no idea. Yeah, we can look at some of those. I mean, what's been hitting here for you guys so far today is right here. So these are the names that you guys want us to look at so far. Nvidia, obviously we've had a little bit of a take there. Oracle, I just discussed that. We discussed AMD. I'd prefer the short, but it doesn't look like that's happening here today, as finally SoFi is going. SoFi, I'm in. It's like one of the trades we've been in today. HIMS has been, I don't know if it's been good or not, but HIMS has been traded today. DVLT, Amazon, Palantir. Wow, that's nice to see that finally. Okay, let's go. Finally, you're starting to go here. Palantir starting to get going a little bit there as well. Amazon, we just sort of covered that. I still like the stock, but like it down more near that $200 ONDS. Finally, SoFi, as we said. CoreWeave, let's have a look at CoreWeave. Silver up 6%. So we did have the right look on silver. We don't have the price because we're not in, but at least we did talk about that long there in silver and just don't have it. All right, here's CoreWeave right now approaching. All right, go silver. Or go silver, go SoFi. I'll take another out at 18. I know, I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to try it there. But yeah, CoreWeave taking out the highs of the day right there as well. So this has been a nice little name. They got a couple upgrades there last week, and on better ideas for Oracle, you know, potentially that's a good opportunity there for CoreWeave to come through at some point as well. Up 8 plus%. Here we go. Now we're getting close to being at the highest spot we've been at all day, because now we get going here for SoFi. So far so good. Then as we go on SoFi. So, all right, it's 10:50. It's Money Talks. It's with Adara. When we get that, we'll figure out what's for lunch when we get back. But for now, over to Adara and Money Talks.
Let's discuss the U.S. dollar here. This coming into some technical levels. We talked last week about that resistance around 97.7 at the end of last week. At the end of December, last week we briefly broke above this level. Right now rejecting it once again, currently trading around 96.9 for that DXY and continuing to drop. Now with the U.S. dollar, let's talk about some economic data that's coming up this week. Nothing major today, though, again at 11 a.m. So in roughly 9 minutes, we're going to be getting the one-year inflation expectations from the New York Fed. Likely not going to be a supermarket moving event, though if the market does move, I'll definitely cover that for you guys. Later in the day, we're going to get a slew of Fed speakers, Fed's Waller, Fed's Myron, Fed's Bostic, and then Fed's Myron again over a four-hour period starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, nothing massive here for economic data. We're going to get some retail sales data at 8:30 a.m. But then on Wednesday, we get really the biggest, I think, report of the week, and that's going to be unemployment and non-farm payrolls. We were supposed to get last week, but due to that very brief government shutdown, this ended up being delayed. So again, unemployment and NFPs coming through on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to be getting your standard fare for Thursday, those existing home sales. Jobless claims as well as existing home sales. And then Friday, we're going to get CPI. So some interesting economic data in the back half of the week for the market and for the U.S. dollar. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. And want to remind everybody, coming up in just over 1 hour, we will have Peter Schiff. Look, you know everyone's been talking about the metals. Everyone's been talking about gold and silver. Well, no better person to have on to talk a little bit about monetary policy, to talk about the metals. Probably also gonna be talking a little bit about what's going on in crypto land, because you know he has some opinions on Bitcoin. So tune in just over 1 hour during the midday. We'll pop over to the desk. Adara's gonna do a fantastic job with it. Not the first time we've had Peter on, and it's always entertaining and informative when we do. So we look forward to having that in just 1 hour. So make sure you stick around for sure. It's going to be another fun one. I'll be listening in as well. And keep in mind, it's all about learning. Whether you're into metals or not, you can always learn something new. Whether you trade it, whether you're invested, doesn't really make a difference. At the end of the day, information is always power. At least I like to think so. That's just my opinion.
All right, let's go over and figure out what's for lunch. All right, let me get that up right here as finally SoFi is starting to go. So that's a good one. All right, February 9th to the 13th. We're on the right week over here. Let's get past breakfast, which today was sausage and scrambled eggs. It was pretty good. Not bad. All right, today's a U.S. flag for what's for lunch. So we know that's, sometimes that could be barbecue chicken. That could be lots of different things happening with that one. But today's what's for lunch is close. Yesterday, man, I baked some crazy ribs, man. They were so good yesterday. For Super Bowl there, herb-crusted grilled chicken. So it is a little bit of a chicken dinner winner. Oh, by the way, Google just took out the highs. So there goes Google right there, back into the upside there. Herb roasted, so nothing made or lost on that last little reload there. With roasted seasoned veg, roasted potatoes, a lot of roasting happening here. Herb-crusted grilled chicken, roasted veg, roasted potatoes, and of course, Chef's Choice salad. That is what's happening up in here for lunch. So not bad. That sounds like it should be a good one there. They don't, besides the chicken sometimes being a little
undercooked,
al dente, we will hope that will be better this time around. But okay, so yeah, obviously gave some back there on Google, so be it. But look what's happening right now for SoFi. We are finally getting it right here. It is your number one trade of the day. And if you're only gonna have one trade of the day, basically like I do, the whole day right now is just chilling out right here on SoFi. It's a $21 long. It's basically the low of the day. We have it. It's the biggest trade for me today. It's probably the best trade for me today. It's the cleanest. We've reloaded it numerous times. We did have TQQ short in and out of that one, in and out of the Google short. So we'll go flat on those two and up on SoFi. So yeah, very, very positive day, and just obviously wish we had a little bit more. But there goes SoFi, really kicking it out right now. Big trade alert right there. We've hit our daily goal, obviously alone there on SoFi. So yeah, it's a good day today, a nice positive green one. And you know, if you're green, shout out to you guys there in the chat. I'll see you guys back at 2 p.m. Make sure you do enjoy it with Adara and the boys on the midday show as well. It should be a great look, as it usually is.
Exactly, and a great green start to the month for sure, and to the year, everybody. It's been a good one. I'll be down this morning, but you know what? I always look at it this way. Not a single losing trade. Actually, I could add up all of my losing trades, 1/4 of my best day or last week. And I think that's one thing that you got to keep in mind, because I came in looking bearish on IBIT. And ultimately, this was going to be one of the ones that I liked for the short side. It hasn't set up the perfect trade, but I'm not done taking shots at it. Either it's going to be 40 or it's going to be trend break. You just have to wait for the appropriate setup when it does come. Silver, we like to long, but I got away from it because it broke the trend. Like, that's been a rule of mine. I'll take the long in silver on the dip, but it never got anywhere near the price we want. And you always hear me say this. If I'm doing a pullback into the prior high, if it doesn't give that to me, the next place I'm going to look is for the VWAP hold. So it holds VWAP, you get in, but it broke the trend, and when it breaks the trend, I get out because I'm usually looking in the other direction at that point. But silver, 7% today. Gold. Well, gold's never going to move as much. GLD's never going to move as much as silver, but up 2% for sure, looking pretty strong. But do not ignore what is going on. We talked about Palantir already in VWAP. Nvidia's up 3%. It just can't seem to do anything with these 90s. We get past 90, we hold consolidation, and we just don't want to go any further for whatever reason on Nvidia. That's just how it's been. And when you look at the passing of the baton, AMD still breaking out. So we're back into this mode where, for whatever reason, it just is what it is. On an up day, you're not getting continuation necessarily in Nvidia, but you are seeing continuation over there in advanced micro devices. Just seems like it's been a better vehicle for momentum if you happen to be looking at some of those chips. As I said, Palantir doesn't seem to want that volume weighted average price, but it's still going. There's your local breakout at the 140. It just couldn't get back into VWAP. Unfortunately, it's kind of allergic to VWAP today. Palantir's on one of those days. It's actually accelerating as we get later on into the session here and looking very, very good. And, ooh, I like that. Newsbot. I'm just going to pull this one up here so you guys can see. You will not get silver pullback today. It's in the blue sky zone. Blue sky zone. Interesting. I usually reserve blue sky zone for when you're making all-time highs. But I see what you're getting at. We're bouncing at 50. We're in a little bit of a gap. But I just think we're in this gap right now. We were pointing this out before, like in SLV into 75, and those are prior support levels. Like, that's a good spot for a potential pullback where I would look to try and buy the dip on the trend. As long as it trends, I think it's going to be good to go to set upside. But I can't call it blue sky when these levels existed on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's hard to call it a blue sky setup if it's not making all-time highs, but that's just me.
All right, and what's just me is trying to put together some winners for everybody. So we'll just go Dollar Club. We're not there. We'll go Cash Register. We'll go Slap. It's SoFi. We just put that out. So again, really a big trade. We're have more than half, which is not normal for me at this time of day on this trade. Anyways, so we're really trying to hold out, trying to copy our best idea, and we just put it out. I was actually looking to see where that I don't even think I have to retweet that Peter Schiff thing. But here it is right here, man. Our number one trade of the day is SoFi, $21 long. So as you can see right here, came in, we bought 21s a bunch of times. So it's nice that finally, as we go out here into the midday show, that we do have SoFi on that long as it continues to go up side big time, as well as other bank names continue. Yes, 326, man, that is another one right there as we ride the bull on JP Morgan and everybody else, man. Really enjoy these bank stocks, and what a good spot of the portfolio for that. All right, only 10 minutes left. Thank you to everybody for being here today. Ramin, Andre, Fabian, in the back there, Adara. We want to say shout out to Sharif for his morning, and Sharif for what's about to happen here on the Midday Show. Good show, Neil. Good show, Joe. Thank you so much. It's going to be lunchtime. It's chicken. Enjoy your lunch too. We're back at 2 p.m. Enjoy Peter Schiff in just an hour. Ciao till then.
Boom. Greetings and salutations.